What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Sisko and Mike Podcast. Political climate, the war on drugs. What would push someone to cover these dangerous aspects of society? We're hoping to find out today because our guest today, she's an independent reporter from Canada, and she's based in Mexico, and she covers all these things. We got Katarina Szulc joining us.
Welcome.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you for coming. I'm glad you weren't followed here. We had to make sure.
Oh, she arrived?
How?
Fucking helicopter, fucking parachute.
I didn't see that part. I missed that part.
Yeah.
I was looking out for everything else.
I was like,
I didn't even parachute. I just climbed down the rope.
No, but we started talking before, and before we get into all the juicy stuff and everything going on, you were mentioning that you're originally from Canada and you're from Polish descent.
Yeah, well, my dad is Polish. My mom was Indian. So I'm like not Latina at all. But I get it a lot, obviously, because I speak Spanish and like I live in Mexico. But I always loved Mexico. I always wanted to live there because even though I cover mostly really gruesome stuff, I just really like Mexico. Like I really like the people. And I say this all the time, but I feel like Mexican people, especially Mexican people that are like born and raised in Mexico, are like very resilient and very hardworking. And like, of course, there's those people exist everywhere, but it's like a cultural thing that Mexican people are just like, something could like really bad happens or like they're going through a lot of shit and they're just out there grinding and they're like, you know what? I'm going to make the best of it. Like, ni modo, hay que seguir adelante. And I love that. Like, I identify with that a lot. I feel like that's in my character too. So that was a big reason. Well, apart from the culture is so beautiful and colorful and diverse and everything, I was like, esta es mi gente. Like Jennifer Lopez said, mi gente latina. No, she said it wrong too, huh? But yeah, that's like a big reason what prompted me to move over there. And then obviously the work stuff just comes hand in hand.
But was that naturally just something you were fascinated by growing up, or was it something more later on in life?
No, it was like my whole life. Actually, like a lot of my female journalists that I look up to are Mexican. And when I was young, like maybe it was 3rd grade or 4th grade, it was Anthony Bourdain, Parts Unknown. He went to Mexico City. He talked to Anabel Hernandez. And I was like, wow, she has balls and I want to do this. And she's doing like investigative stuff. And she was obviously like independent at that time, I think. And I was like, okay, this is something that I want to do. And I get shit on for this, whatever. Like I like to be in the action. I like to be on the front lines. I like to see what's going on and tell people like, hey, this is what's going on. I mean, one thing is like I could sit at home and see it on social media and just like write about it. But when you're there, you feel the ambiance of what's going on. You can like talk to the people that are experiencing it firsthand. Like when I was in Culiacan, and Anabel was doing that, right? And obviously now she's like living here because
she's got like so many death threats.
Yeah, like she's literally living in exile. But I was like, okay, this is what I want to do, and I feel like I'm capable of doing this. And like, there's other like Lydia Cacho, and just a lot of women in Mexican journalism who were just like, they were giving it their all. So that was a big reason why I also chose Mexico. So I started learning Spanish when I was 12. Like everyone thinks I had a teacher and stuff, but if you hear me in Spanish, you would know that I did not have a teacher. But I started learning it on Duolingo, and then I would tell my dad like, I want to go to Mexico. So we went to Mexico, and then I would go all the time. And I started doing journalism really young over there. Not like officially, but I would make like YouTube videos and stuff and interview people and try to like capture whole themes, like societal, like I started off a lot with like the missing and murdered women particularly. And it was really taking off. So I was like, okay, I really need to do this because I love telling stories like more than anything.
And you were still in your teens when you were doing this.
And your dad was very supportive of this?
Yeah, still. He like, we know the risks and he loves that I do this. And I know that, and I say this, like, I know he's scared, but we never talk about his fears. We never even talk about mine. Like if shit's hitting the fan, which it's happened before, I'll just send him a text and be like, hey, like if you don't hear from me by this time or something, just like alert the embassy. But it's all cool. Like even if I'm shitting myself and I know he's freaking out, but he's like super cool about it. Only one time there was like a threat and I called him crying and it was like late and I was like, wake the fuck up. Like, they're going to kill me. And so he was like, he's really calm. And we have a deal. I told him, I'm like, look, if shit ever goes sideways and they kill me or like they rape me or then they leave me, whatever, you cannot feel guilty. Like whether I had your approval or not, we always knew that this is what I was going to do. So we just have to accept whatever the consequence, as unfortunate as it could be. Like you have to just, even if that happens, like stay proud of what I did. Don't feel guilty. Like this is not on you. And he says like, yeah, that's fine, blah, blah, blah. But I know he tells his friends and stuff like, fuck, where is she?
Bro, I'm just hearing this shit. I'm getting anxiety. I'm thinking like, I got 2 daughters, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I would never be able to fucking, I don't know. I mean, kudos to your dad and you. I mean, fuck, that takes some balls to.
How old are your daughters?
I got a 15 and a 16.
So like they're close to this age where they're going to start making their own decisions, right?
Yeah. And
So-
that's a scary thing.
But it's not though, because I think my dad being so supportive and giving me so much independence, like I don't know what you would feel about this, but I went to Mexico by myself for the first time for 2 months when I was 16 to do a video about the missing women. See, and like,
By yourself?
yeah, I went by myself. I got an Airbnb and I went to Jalisco. Yeah. And I was like talking to people whose like daughters were missing and stuff like that. And my dad was like, okay, you're fine. Like you need money.
That's crazy. I can't even send my kids fucking down the street. You know what I'm saying? Because I know everything that happens. You know, I mean, you grew up hearing all the shit, even here.
Yeah.
So it's kind of I knowing what happens in Mexico. It's like I don't know if I could ever send my daughter for 2 months.
I think it's like a double-edged sword because you hear a lot of the negative, but there's so many positive things too.
Yeah.
And I think if obviously what you're doing is a little more dangerous, but people that go in general have this fear that they're gonna get, caught in
And that's
violence.
like people going to like a resort in Cancun.
Like,
I'm like,
exactly.
shut the hell up. Just enjoy your vacation and zip it.
Even the hotspots, we're from Michoacan, I'm from a place, one of the cities that's really bad. And when I've gone, it's been fine. I think as long as you mind your business and you're not really out there questioning things, like you're okay. But obviously, I mean, in your situation, you are questioning
But
everything.
I also know like the limit, right? Because when you like, for example, I would never go up. Well, I did it like maybe twice, but if there's like, okay, in Culiacan, for example, we get a call like, hey, there's a bunch of bodies, whatever. Okay, we pull up. And then I would never go to like the neighbors of where they find and be like, ¿Qué viste? ¿Qué escuchaste? Oye, ¿qué sabes de esto? They'd be like, get the fuck away from me. And also just me doing that, like I have to have some responsibility. That could put a target on their back because you never know who's watching. And also like with the militares and stuff, it's so different over there. So I don't want to go up to someone who's probably innocent and be like, cuéntame si viste algo. Because tell me if you've seen something. Because someone could see that and misinterpret that as that person knows something and they're talking to the periodista. What? And then boom, next thing you know, that person's whacked. No way. So I'm careful with that. But then also, I think a lot of the people who have that fear of just Mexico in general, it's like, well, what are you going down there for, right? Like, are you going to do drugs and like see what's up? Like, yeah, okay, then maybe.
Most people are.
Yeah. I mean, like if you're going on a family vacation, you're probably going to be okay. I mean, the worst thing that could probably happen is like a little kid drowns, which horrible, but like, it's something that just happens. But no te metes donde no debes de estar, or at least without knowing the risks.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy? So I had my first taste of kind of reporting, interviewing people in Chicago, right? So
because of the protest.
So I was calling him and I was like, damn, this is crazy. So then he's like, interview people. So I started interviewing
He was like,
people.
I don't know. I was like, dude, just fucking do
it.
I started interviewing, and now that you mention it, like, I wasn't paying attention, but the police officers kept like, just kind of like drifting towards where I was going.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know if they were like trying to see like if I was, I don't know, to be honest, it was all peaceful, but I don't know what it was.
Well, if you notice, every time there's like a protest or something going on that involves police and reporters, you have to say press, because the police will treat you just as a regular individual.
They won't know.
They will fuck you up. You know what I'm saying? Because I've seen them get fucked up, and I was like, no, press. So then I don't know. That shit was weird.
But you know what? It is a rush, though. It is pretty fun being like out there and just talking to the people and getting their perspective on everything that's going on. So
I got a question.
Adrenaline. Yeah.
Do you? Okay, so obviously in that world, in any world that involves any type of criminal activity or unlawful activity, speaking to the cops, obviously nobody wants to speak to the cops because it's considered snitching, right? Mm-hmm. Is speaking to reporters the same as snitching?
Well, it depends which reporter you're speaking to, obviously, because there are some who will sell out. But like I always tell people, even when I'm talking to people who are like, this needs to be anonymous, and they're telling me like very confidential information, I'm like, I'm not a cop. I'm not a rat. And I'm just here to tell the story. Yeah. And like, I will protect your identity. And I've never failed any of my anonymous sources with that. Like, you will even see sometimes there will be like an anonymous interview that's posted, and they got their like face blurred, sure, but you hear their voice, you see their tats. Yeah. And I'm like, that's a huge identifier, because
you see the pictures in the background and shit. I see
family
pictures. Yeah.
Because a lot of journalists, they just don't care. They just want the story, right? But I think it's really important to like continue to foster those sources, and for your credibility, like, because I could talk to like a narco, right? And then I'm like, I promise you, they're not going to know who you are. Put on some glasses, put on a balaclava, take off your Rolex, hide your tats, even if you need to wear gloves, whatever. And if people want to believe that I'm talking to who I'm saying I'm talking to, believe it. If not, whatever. Like I don't care. I don't lie. And then those people will be like, so then if I want another source, I can be like, hey, wait, like, como hablamos, like we talked the other time, can you put me in touch with someone that's doing X, Y, Z? And they will, because they know that I don't do them dirty like that.
So why would they want to talk? That's my curiosity.
Everyone always asks this, and I honestly just think it's like an ego thing. I think it's like a look at what I'm doing and I'm not getting caught. It's very much that. And it's like, why did El Chapo meet with Kate del Castillo and Sean Penn, right?
Because he had a crush on her?
Yeah, I know, right? That was a big part of it. But also it's just like, and that's another thing too, because I'm a woman doing this, a young woman. So it's like, oh, like, she wants to talk to me. Okay. Yeah. Like, okay. And I didn't clock that at first. Like, I didn't realize that a lot of these guys would talk to me just because how I look. Like, I just thought, oh, like they want the fama. Yeah. But then I realized, because then afterwards, some of them, they'll like flirt with you or whatever. And it's like, hey, no way. Like, I'm a lesbian now, get away. But yeah, like a lot of them will talk because they want kind of that, like, to be notorious like that. But that's why a lot of the ones who don't ever talk and are really low key, they get away with it for so long. Like, they're not driving fucking Lambos. Yeah. They're not even really buying expensive stuff. They're just living a good life, but they're making bank, but they're not talking and they're not showing anything. So a lot of these guys that I talk to, and I'm not talking to most of the time like the head honcho, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's why.
But I think that stays true everywhere, because if you look at even here, have you guys ever seen that meme? What billionaires are driving and how they're living compared to like normal people? Mm-hmm. Like they're driving a regular car and then someone's using their whole check to pay for like a Lambo or a Range Rover and things.
Flashy shit.
Exactly.
Flashy shit. Yeah. Like you'll see literally like billionaires here, and it's like there's a Honda Accord in the driveway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, people should take that as advice sometimes, I feel like.
So it sounds like, you really dive into it. Is that the reason you became independent? Because a lot of these networks wouldn't allow you to do this, or? Yeah,
literally, I wanted to be able to do these kinds of stories that I would not be able to do in a regular newsroom, and at least not do it in the way that I do it. Like, even with anonymous sources, a lot of outlets are really picky with that. And I try to maintain like a really high standard of what my reporting is. So like, I will still keep it I worked at CBC, which is like Canadian National Broadcaster, and they have a really high standard of like accuracy and confidentiality and being thorough. And so I still hold myself to that standard because it obviously produces really quality reporting, but I can still do stories and talk to certain people that I perhaps would not have been able to do or would be able to do like at a network. Even sometimes like I'll pitch stuff because I'll do a lot of reporting for outlets still, right? Like I do my social media, my Substack, but I subscribe to my Substack. But I'll like pitch stuff to other networks and be like, hey, like, look at what's happening. Do you guys want this? And they're just like, Kat, I don't know, because that's putting you in a dangerous situation and we don't want to be liable if something happens. And I'm like, well, if I'm not going to be the one to go and tell this story, like no one is telling it right now. And especially not on a network that has the viewership that you guys have. So Like, come on, let's do it. So yeah, that a big reason I went independent was to be able to do these kinds of stories that are high risk, perhaps kind of low reward, but who cares? You know, you're giving people a platform.
Why do you feel you have to have that responsibility of sharing those stories that nobody wants to talk about?
Because it's what's happening. It's the reality, and people's lives are drastically affected by this shit. So if someone doesn't have the balls to go in there and be like, tell me what's going on, something could happen to me, but this is really important because it's like a threat to like Mexican democracy or like even just like North America. And it's a threat to society and like the quality of life. I mean, that's like checks all the boxes of this is a very important journalistic story.
Yeah. I think for me, it's just, you know, like, and I appreciate everything you're doing. For me, it's difficult because I feel like we talked about earlier, people are just so desensitized to everything that's going on.
Yeah.
Whether it be the war on drugs to human trafficking to drug trafficking, you know, like just in general. So for me, it's kind of hard to be like, people are going to take this serious. And there is going to be a lot of people that do take these stories and are aware of them, right? But I feel like a lot of people are just going to be like, oh, I'm just not going to go there. Or they're not going to really care about it.
I agree with you to a sense because I think it's more like, for me, it's like, it's kind of like the election, right?
Yeah.
People just say, oh, I'm not going to vote. Why? Because my vote doesn't matter. It's the same thing. Like, what am I going to do to stop the war on drugs or the drug violence or the trafficking? Like, I can't do shit. At the end of the day, unless you go to a fucking war and literally fight the narcos all around the world, and I'm just talking to Mexico because drug trafficking and sex trafficking and all that shit, it's a worldwide
international
thing, you know what I'm saying? So in the end, it's like, not that you don't want to do nothing about it, but it's kind of like, well, what can I do? Like, I'm just one.
But I don't think it's about like people finding out so that they're like, okay, fuck it, I'm going to go. Like, even with the Russia-Ukraine war, right? People were like just going there to fight. That's not the point. The point is when more people know about something and it comes to light, then it's getting the right attention. Like even for example, with, right now, like the U.S. has an open case on Sinaloa's governor, Rocha Moya, about his ties with criminal organizations. How would that have ever happened if no one said anything, right? And then like these people who live there are facing the consequences of his selfish decisions. And then it's like, well, nobody knows, so nothing's going to be done about it. But when people know about it, things are being done. And to be completely fair, I don't typically go into doing these stories with like, okay, me reporting on this is going to like prompt other people to report on it. And then something's going to be done about it because that would just be naive because it's not going to fix anything. Like, I'm not here to be like, I'm going to change the world. Like, there's just no fucking way. Yeah. But it's like, okay, this could possibly influence some type of change or, you know, get the right person's attention.
I think that's the biggest thing. That's kind of was my point, that every action or non-action has a reaction.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, the war on drugs, there's a big reason why the United States is such a hotspot, right? We're the biggest consumer of illegal drugs. Trafficking, if we had a better immigration policy and foreign policy in general, trafficking would be a lot more difficult. So cartels take advantage of this. Weapons from the U.S., you know, we're shipping them off to Ukraine right now. People don't realize that. People think we're sending money, but also we're sending them to Mexico. A lot of the legal guns in Mexico are from here in the U.S. So there's a lot of action and reaction. And people don't understand that. They just see, like, for example, the story and they see like, oh, I don't care. But they should, because a lot of it ties into it. They're non-reaction, they're non-voting, they're not like paying attention to these things matter. And it affects everything over there.
But the crazy thing is, when you say like, you know, the tighter border and stuff like this, and, you know, I don't like to generalize, but like, especially a lot of Americans have this idea, like, you know, all this shit's coming from the southern border. Like, not anymore.
No.
Everything is actually a lot of your fentanyl, blues and teas.
You guys are contributing to that.
Yeah, it's coming from Canada.
Yeah.
It's coming from Canada. So like, even like some of the narcos that I've talked to in Mexico, particularly in border towns, they're like, we don't even make fentanyl. We don't even see fentanyl here. They're like doing meth and like heroin still. But all the fentanyl, especially in the States and in Canada, because we have like the biggest fucking fentanyl epidemics, it's coming from Canada because there's a bunch of Sinaloa members in Canada and they were taught by Chinese cooks how to make fentanyl, and that's all moving down south of Canadian border into the United States. So And that border is just like so under the radar. Like even if, and there's like every day lately, well, almost every day, there's like a crazy fentanyl lab bust in Canada. There was like, we actually just, I think like last week I tweeted about it. They had the biggest fentanyl lab bust in Canadian history. So you think that's only feeding Canadians?
Yeah.
No.
No, 100%. And I've said this before in the podcast that I say that people always want to criminalize the border down south and make the people down south.
It's because of that.
That's all political.
It's because of that hate against Mexico, bro.
But I always say there's a border up north and nobody ever talks about.
Ever.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and we've known that, for example, even prescription drugs was a big thing back in the early 2000s where they were coming from Canada into the US. People were literally going into Canada to buy prescription drugs because they were cheaper and smuggling them over. Mm-hmm. So, but nobody ever made a big old thing about it either.
Because it goes back to the whole Mexico's the enemy. That's the whole shit with Trump right now. Him saying
exactly
the Latinos or the immigrants, he's referring to Mexico, which is fucking bullshit because, like you said, I ain't gonna say I'm getting mad.
I mean, another thing too is like, this was something that I hadn't anticipated, which I guess I should have, was when I'm posting, like, especially because of the recent election, when I'm posting a lot of the stuff on Twitter, particularly Twitter, about what's going on in Mexico, I get now like a lot of quote tweets and stuff from like Trump supporters and like conservative Americans being like, this is what's coming into our country. And I was like, fuck, I didn't think about the fact that me showing this is fueling a political narrative in the United States. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, it's see, and that's hard because we don't think about that. We've had clips that are just very neutral, but you see one group come out and kind of politicize it. It's just the world we're living in.
Yeah.
It's either something, you can interpret something as either far right or far left. There is no more, let's look at the content and make a judgment off what's going on here in general. No, we have to tie it or make it into something else.
Well, it's also like I told you, tweets, TikToks, even Reels. It's a
small sample.
It's a small sample of what you're actually talking about.
Yeah.
So I'm very picky with him. I tell him sometimes, like, don't post nothing until we all review it, because what you post is what these people are going to go off of. A lot of the people that are following us or follow anybody, they're only going to go off that clip. No. They're not going to go off the content of the juice. You know what I'm saying? So that's going to take it to that level where it might be politicized and all that.
Even sometimes, like, if you say something or write something to supplement whatever you're posting, people will like ignore that and just like I tweeted when I was in Culiacan on one of my last nights, like the city went crazy. Like no one was allowed to go outside. You could literally see like the gunfights, cars were on fire. It was like the city was in flames, right? I say that a lot, but that's literally what I saw. And I tweeted about how another journalist, he had sent me a message and being like, hey, Kata, like, are you still in Culiacan? I'm like, yeah. He's like, you should maybe alert the embassy that you're there. And so I tweeted saying that, like, it's so bad that, like, colleagues have reached out being like, just let Canada know that you're there just in case. And some people took that as like, no, don't get Canada involved. Like, don't send your troops. I'm like, are you dumb? That is not, I'm not alerting the embassy so that we get like our special forces down here to fight this war, jackass. Like, this is for, I'm
got to declare war.
yeah. Like, you know what? United Nations put me in. No, that's not what I meant. But like, people will take so much stuff out of context. And sometimes you really have to realize that, like, okay, not everyone is interpreting. That's why it's like also very hard to be a journalist, because you have to really think about, okay, how is this going to be interpreted? And I want it to be interpreted in the way that I'm trying to tell it, like, or have it very neutral. It's a really hard balance to strike.
Yeah.
You're pitching stories to other networks, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of your work is done on your social medias.
Uh-huh.
How has that changed the way you approach things?
I'm like very raw. Like I just post, okay, if I see this happening, here you go. Look at what's happening. And that way I also feel like now that I'm trying to basically make my social media my main form of, like, my main platform for my journalism, I feel like it's better because I can just be like, look at what's happening. Here's the details. Boom, boom, boom. Take it how you want. just look at what's going on. Like, it's very much me painting the picture. Like, I don't need to add anything. Like, I will add context, whatever, but it's so raw that, and I think people really appreciate that. Like, they're like, okay, like, we're not hiding anything here, or why are they not saying this? Or people, especially when you're associated with a network, people always think that you're on the political side of a particular network. Whereas for me, I'm like, yeah, I'll do CBC, I'll do BBC, I'll do Fox, I'll do CNN, I'll do NBC. Like, you know, for me, I'm in the middle. Like, I don't, you know, there's no like, oh yeah, a political stance for me. I don't have any agenda. My agenda is to literally show people what's happening and tell the story. And social media lets me do that. And you also reach like an audience that is interested in hearing about this, which I think is really important, because these are people who are tuned in, who want to know what's going on. Maybe they're affected. Maybe they know people who are affected, or they're just curious. And I really like that. And I like that I have a lot of followers now that are just curious people to know about this, even if like no tiene nada que ver with what's going on. They're like, I want to know. And they're critical thinkers. And I really appreciate that when people are like that.
Do you have to let the government know that you are a reporter and you're coming into the country?
No.
You don't have to let them know?
No.
So if you were to get caught,
you're just like a citizen. You're just a citizen in another country.
I'm saying if you were in the middle of something, you were to get caught by, let's say, the police, the federales or the militares, and you present yourself as a reporter, right?
Yeah, always.
Dude, can they detain you for that?
For being a reporter?
For being a reporter from another country?
No, not at all.
Not at all?
No.
Well, no. I don't know. I'm asking. I don't know if you need
credentials.
No,
and I'm not like, dumbass. No. It's a fair question. No, it's like freedom of press, right? I'm reporting, and I'm often reporting for a Canadian outlet. So I'm just here doing my job. Actually, when I was in Sinaloa, me being a foreigner was like an advantage, because they'd be like, oh, she's reporting for like the like international networks. Okay, yeah, like come, we'll tell you this, or we'll show you this. It was like literally roll out the fucking red carpet. And I was not expecting that. But I mean, I should have anticipated it, because most of the reporters there were local news reporters. And so local news only goes so far.
Gotcha.
You know, whereas like I'm there and they're like, whoa, people in the States are going to see this, people in Canada. Actually now, like most of my following is American, which obviously before it wasn't, because I'm from Canada, but now it's mostly American. It's a lot of Mexican Americans, and it's mostly men. And which I understand, because I think men are women love true crime, but I think men are really like fascinated by like this narco war, you know, because it has everything that you guys like. It's like violence, politics, you know, polarization. It's kind of has all the elements. But no, I won't get arrested for being a Canadian journalist in Mexico. If they do that, I will fucking kick their ass. I'd be
you call the Canadian government.
That's what you call special forces.
Yeah, and I'd be like, if that ever happened, I mean, like sometimes even when I was over there, they're like, ¿Quién eres? Like if we showed up to like a shootout or something, and all the militares and the federales were already there, they like immediately they would come to me, because they don't recognize me and I look different, and they're like, hey, like, ¿quién eres? Like, show me your press pass. And I'm like, fuck, I don't have a press pass. I'm like, just Google me. Like, even at the American border, he's like, what are you here for? Because I also had a one-way ticket, and I forgot that your guys' border stuff goes crazy. So I was like, oh, like I'm not here to work. Like, I'm just a journalist, but whatever. He's like, prove it. I'm like, why would I have my work stuff here, like a press pass and stuff, if I'm not here to work, bro? I'm like, Google me. He's like, I don't have Wi-Fi on my computer. I'm like, well, perhaps you should put a little more energy into that, because I'm kidding. Now they're going to fucking stop me at the border when I try to come back. But no, if they tried to stop me for being a reporter like that, that would be a crazy story. Don't do it.
You know, and I think you're right. Social media is changing a lot of the way people look at news now. And we've talked about this before too, right? But just even with these last elections, I don't know if you guys noticed, you know, the podcast became a big thing.
Yeah.
Where the presidential candidates were going on podcasts, while Trump went on more than Kamala, right? And that was a big factor for a lot of people. And it feels like now people are starting to focus more on social media, podcasts for their information. Mm-hmm. So it feels like legacy media is kind of, I don't want to say dying now, but going a little dry.
It definitely is. Yeah.
I think it's because they have an agenda.
No,
with podcasts, I think you pick and choose which podcast you're going to go. I don't think Donald Trump would have done our podcast or You know, it's a joke.
But also,
it's a joke because you're welcome whenever you want, Donald.
Yeah, you come on our podcast. He's not gonna come. Hey,
he went on Rogan, and then Kamala went on Call Her Daddy.
Yeah, but
he picked those.
He did a couple of other ones, but
and he was invited on Call Her Daddy.
Yeah.
That's what Alex Cooper said.
He did the Nelk Boys. Come on, get the fuck out of here.
But he's appealing to people. So that's what I was going to get to. I think people now, like, they watch the news. We're so desensitized by the news because it's always so negative that podcasts people listen to because they build connections, right?
But nobody wants positive news. Like, I hear this a lot.
Exactly.
Where it's like,
I
can't watch the news. It's so negative. I'm like, okay, so if we do a story about how they found the lost dog, are you going to watch that shit? No. That's not even news.
Yeah.
I just got my own manchas for later. So we have a segment later that's like a pet peeve, but we'll get to that. But yeah, just to go back,
I have a lot of pet peeves. Sorry. We could do no manchas all day.
I just feel like people want to connect, right? And we see these people, like, you know, you're interviewing butchers, you can call them drug cartel members and things like that. And people are connecting with them while you're interviewing them. They're watching them literally sit down. Technically, that interview is like a podcast in a sense, you know. But when you break it down into the news form, people are not really paying attention to that. Same thing with the presidential candidates. You're sitting down, you're connecting with the person that's in front of you. And I think that's what people are doing now, especially with social media. That's what it's for, right? Initially, to connect. So I feel like what you're doing, showing it raw, people are connecting to that, and that's why you've had success in that.
And I also think, like, and this was a way of journalism for quite a while, where it was like, the journalist should not become part of the story. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. But I also think that when the journalist is in the story, is like making it more personal, it really humanizes what we're hearing about and what we're seeing. And people like that because then, you know, like a lot of the people I talk to, regular people do not relate to them, but they relate to me. Mm-hmm. So because I'm just like regular schmegular there. So that allows a lot of people to be like, okay, like this is really interesting in what she's saying because they relate to, it's like literally with Trump being on Rogan and Kamala being on, Harris being on Call Her Daddy, because most of those viewers, like especially for Call Her Daddy, they relate to Alex Cooper. They don't relate to what could have been the president of the United States. And I think that that's really interesting because then it's like, okay, journalist is not a part of the story. You're not becoming the story, but you do play a role in the audience feeling more in touch with what they're hearing and seeing. Yeah. And I like that. That's like literally back to Anthony Bourdain, Parts Unknown. He was telling crazy stories, but then he's like, okay, now we're going to go eat with this family. Yeah. And people loved Bourdain, and Bourdain didn't consider himself a journalist, but he was definitely like one of the best journalists of all time.
100% we agree.
Rest in peace.
Yeah.
Yeah. And people connected with him. So that's what made the show so good. That's what made his stories connect with people because they related through him. And I like that. I like doing that. Like, for example, like on CNN, Clarissa Ward, she's the chief international correspondent for them, I think. And she just got kidnapped with her crew in Darfur. And she's like, I never want to become the story. But you do, and people are often watching your stories because they relate, they connect to you. Mm-hmm. You're like the baseline who's going through this. Like if I'm at a shooting or there's like, you know, there was like a massacre, the safe space is kind of like me right there. I'm like, hey, I'm here. I'm going to show you what's happening. You're guiding the viewer through it. But I think that's why podcasts are doing so well. And people are like not just watching mainstream news anymore because, not because it's negative, but they don't feel that connection. And then that gets interpreted as like, it's so negative. It's like, no, you just don't feel like it's human enough.
Yeah.
I want to get to the nitty gritty, fool.
I know.
Sorry.
It's so funny because I was about to say the same thing.
How old were you when you first saw your first dead body?
When I saw my first dead body? Like a work dead body?
Yes. Like doing what you're doing now, like in journalism. When was the first time you ever,
maybe
how old were you? Because you say you started doing this when you were a teenager, right?
Yeah, but I wasn't seeing the dead bodies and stuff when I wasn't going into like the dangerous situations.
Gotcha.
Well, not really. But I think my first dead body, I was like 21.
How was that process?
Well, it was like, honestly, for me, like death has always just been a normal part of life. Obviously, murder is not. And most of these people that I'm seeing have been murdered. So it's like very different seeing a dead body of someone who died. Like my very first dead body ever was my mom when I was like 4 years old because she was sick and she died. And that's different. It's like she just died. But then it's like you see a body with bullet holes and it's like this person's life was taken. Bad or good, who gives a fuck? This person, like their life was taken from them. And no one should be able to play God. And so it didn't really affect me because the way I am with death is very much like, okay, it's a part of the life cycle. And also, I hate to say this because I don't truly believe it, but a lot of the dead bodies that I've seen that are murdered is they put themselves in a situation where that could have become the result. So like even me, I'm aware of like the risks that I run with this, just like those people in a way, right? So but I don't really get affected by it. Like I don't freak out. I don't get nervous. I don't cry. I'm not really like a crier like that too. Like if I get sad or whatever, I just get angry. So yeah, it doesn't really, I'm very desensitized to this stuff too.
I think it has to do a lot with personal attachment too. You know, obviously I seen my dad pass away too. And I've seen a body in Mexico like just dead too. But it's like, you don't really feel a connection to them. You didn't know them, but you see it and yeah, like maybe the way they die is gruesome and that's the gritty part of it. But seeing them lying there, like it's I don't know, like it's kind of weird to be honest. I don't know if that comes off like if I don't care. No, it is weird.
It's not normal.
Yeah.
Like no one should be seeing murdered bodies around in their everyday life. It's not normal. And just because like I'm desensitized or a lot of people in Mexico or wherever you're living in a conflict zone, it doesn't mean it's normal.
Yeah.
It just means your mind has normalized it because you're seeing it a lot more than you should. Like even when those videos started to go viral, like back in the day of like the decapitations, people would just watch that like it was nothing because you don't know the person, you're watching it through a screen. So imagine if you're not watching it through a screen and you're seeing it happen all the time. Again, you become desensitized to it. But that also like it sparks more crime. I mean, I don't know if this is like scientific, but from what I've seen, it's like if you are, I mean, we've seen it, right? If you're like a 10-year-old boy and you're seeing all your cousins gangbanging or like, you know, you're like my tío, my whatever was like murdered and we saw his body, blah, blah, blah. You really think that kid is not going to grow up to be like, oh, I could be part of this for a bag because I've seen it my whole life, whatever. And also like a lot of these people who are committing these crimes are on crazy drugs. So they're not even themselves. Like they're doing meth and they're all amped up and they probably haven't slept in like 2 or 3 days. So of course you can like beat a guy until he dies and then chop his head off and you're like, güey, vamos a comer. Because you're just not there.
I was going to say they're going to go eat cabeza, but I have dark humor.
Yeah, I know the same, but I'm like, oh my God, the public gets scared about that.
It's crazy.
So, you know, right now you talked about kids growing up being desensitized. I've said this. I have like a little theory. I don't know if I'm wrong. Maybe you can shed some light on this. Mm-hmm. The people in Mexico, it's become a thing where these kids idolize these people.
Yeah.
They grow up wanting to be these people. And it's like, that's the ultimate goal. And I know there's a lot of things. There's a lot of like financial things to it, tied to it, economical, you know, like education wise too. There isn't a whole lot of it. So I understand that there's not a lot of outlets for them to be able to grow and be successful. But what have you seen? What's been your experience as far as kids?
This is also a misconception because a lot of people think that these kids are getting involved in like the narco trade because they need the money. Of course, that exists. But a lot of them, and more than ever now, especially with like music and stuff, a lot of them, they're like little fresas. Like they're growing up with money, good school, good parents. And they're like, but I'm going to be tough. Like, I want to be hard. Like, I want to be in this. Like, this is cool. So because they're glamorizing it in media, these kids begin to idolize it and they don't need to do it. It's not out of necessity. It's just because it's something that they want to do, which it's fucking bullshit. Like, it's so bad. You're really telling me that you had all these opportunities and your parents tried to give you these opportunities and you're just going to throw that away because you want to be like in a Peso Pluma song? Get wrecked. Sorry.
That's crazy. No, I didn't think about that. I was just thinking of Narcos because I was watching Narcos.
You're thinking about Bad Bunny's character?
Nah. Well,
that is like part of it.
He was like a fresa, right? He was like
but they grew up with money and they were kicking it with the narcos, the chicken narcos, you know.
So let me ask you, Mike, do you think that has to do with the culture that we've grown up with, the Mexican culture, a lot of machismo, a lot of like, I have to prove that I'm tough, and maybe that's one of the ways down there because I don't know.
Well, I think it's kind of like gangster rap, right? You listen to gangster rap here.
That too.
Gangster rap made me do it.
Right?
Yeah.
Everybody wants the chains and shit. Everybody wants this. So it's the same thing. Yeah. I think it's the same thing. It's kind of like everybody's always trying to be what they're not, or trying to achieve what they think there is that it's not.
I just feel that it's a little different in Mexico because you know what you're getting into. You know.
Here too.
In a sense, certain areas, but I feel like if you want to be a gangster, you could dress like a gangster and nobody really affiliates you.
Yeah, but if you don't put the work in, then you're a wankster. You know what I'm saying? You gotta be. It's the same thing. Like that's why these fools think they gotta put in the work.
Yeah.
If you think about it, but here's not seen as much as it is in. I know we've been talking about Mexico, but there's other countries.
100%. Yeah.
You know, there's other countries. I mean, you talked about Libya. You know. Fucking the kid soldiers, you know what I'm saying?
I have crazy videos of Libya. Like violence is so normalized over there. Yeah. Like weddings, they're hanging out of the cars, like shooting AKs into the air. But people really don't talk about that. But going back to, I think that the glamorization of the narco culture is more entrenched in Mexican culture than it is in the United States. Like, what is America's version of Malverde? Like, or like Santa Muerte.
Yeah.
Or like, I don't know, like it's different because they even take it like the religious route, you know? They have that like, the Malverde Chapel in Culiacan, and it's huge, and people are going there like regular people. That's like, you know, the patron saint basically of like the narcos, of the criminales. So
even the graveyards. It's like a fucking.
They have like mansions there. Yeah. I tried to go when I was there and I couldn't get permission quick enough. Because now apparently, so people no one has reported there. I think the most recent one was maybe like 5 years ago. I could be wrong, but now they have one that's like one of the cemeteries. It's like the Taj Mahal. Like they made a mini Taj Mahal, which is crazy.
Oh, spend millions of dollars on those things.
They have fucking AC. They have cable. Like the dead people there are living better than people who are alive in that city.
That's crazy.
And you also mentioned you asked if it's like has to do with the machismo. I honestly think maybe this is like the one thing that it's not really the machismo, because we see it with girls too, like La Reina del Sur.
True.
Right? Or like Claudia, when she was like not the president, like Claudia Ochoa, she was like, you know, had the body, the shoes, and she was like loud, and people still, she's dead. She's been dead. People idolize her. Like I even get TikTok edits of her and it's like, and she's like, it's her big ass right there. And I'm like, even the girls too, like they wanted to be cool. They wanted to be in that. They want to be buchonas. They want to have the narco boyfriend, and having the narco boyfriend, you're part of it. You know, it's not just you being like the hot girl on the side. No, you're seeing the shit. You're living it too. And you probably are, you know, hiding it. Like a lot of these girls, they want to be the bottom bitch, which I don't know if I could say that.
You can.
Okay.
You can say whatever you want.
Yeah. So it's like, it goes both ways, but it's so deeply entrenched in the culture. It's crazy. I mean, even sometimes I'm just like, I'm kidding.
I was like, where's she going with this? And then I was like, oh.
No, but yeah, no, I feel like talking to some people and they're like, I'm doing interviews or I'm trying to gather information, and they're like, mija, ¿por qué tú no? Ya estás bien, like, metida en esto. You already know how it runs. ¿No quieres hacer billete? I'm like, don't even ask me that.
You'd be like, I have the inside scoop on everything.
Yeah, it's like, no, it's crazy. And I even have girlfriends who are like, Kat, like, wouldn't you, like, if someone offered you a bag, wouldn't you get involved? Like, you already know how they launder the money, how they traffic the people, whatever. I'm like, that's their job, not mine. But I can understand how that money and that like glamorous lifestyle can be tempting for a lot of people, especially people who grew up like watching that and listening to that and seeing that. It's like, I want to be that. It's like they're basically what Anabel Hernandez was for me, for my journalism. That's what these like narcos are for them. Yeah. They idolize that.
Yeah.
I want to say something else, continuing with that. Do you think here in America, because there was a big corrido fusion movement here in especially in California.
The narco corrido?
No, not the narco corridos. The trap corridos, right? And it's basically Mexican American kids growing up here, us, some of our generation and younger, that know a little bit of what's up in Mexico, and they try to sing about it here, or they sing about it here, and they're all about that supposedly, but they don't know what it really entails. Do you think that's because they're safe here, or what do you think? What like?
And they haven't lived it. Like, they don't really know what's up.
Yeah. It's really easy to talk about something when you haven't experienced it, fool.
Yeah.
Because you're just coming from a place from an outside perspective where I'm telling you what I think or what I've heard, but you haven't lived it. I feel like Mexican culture, Mexican people that live over there, that experience it, they're desensitized.
Yeah.
They see dead bodies and they're like, whatever. Here, what happens to a lot of people once they get threatened? Peso Pluma, he's like, fuck that. I ain't going back to, what was it, Jalisco? He got threatened in Jalisco. He's like, fuck that. I can't go back to Guadalajara. I'm out. I'm never going to do a concert there. They're out, right? Mm-hmm. So they're not, it's easy to talk about it because you're over here. But once you experience it, once you're in it, I think it's a completely different story.
I know Fuerza Regida got threatened too. I just can't remember where.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
So
there's a lot
Mexico
of people.
City, right?
And we've seen it. Look at Chalino Sanchez. He got threatened.
But see, you got to remember, Chalino Sanchez came from an era where he was in that shit.
He killed someone.
Yeah, he was.
Well, he killed like multiple people, right?
Yeah.
His manager was one of the biggest ones.
But that's what I'm saying.
Well, from what I've heard, okay, is that a lot of these, they just get paid to do songs about certain people.
Yeah, I mean,
well, you also got to think for money laundering.
100%.
There's a way to, you have to fucking launder money somehow.
Yeah.
What better way than to own a fucking...
It's the best way.
Yeah.
So, that's a good way to segue into a question that I had. Obviously, we know the money laundering side. We know the smuggling side. We see the killing side. What's been the most shocking thing that you've seen that might surprise people that they don't know about or we don't know about?
That people don't know about that shocked me? Probably one of the big ones was like, well, I mean, I think people know about this. There's a few. This is a big question. Give me a second. I would say like when we went to Tijuana and the narcos were running that clandestine rehab center because they're giving them drugs in there. They're making them do free labor. They're all like peeling the tomatillos. And I'm just like, that's crazy. Like, because Mexican government doesn't have really solid resources for people to like who are facing addiction to get clean or get help. So these guys monopolize everything. Like the narcos do it all, right? And then it's like great because it's like, okay, so if Buddy is causing too much havoc on the streets or he's overdosing too much or he's gonna die, we lose a client. And then we like, it's a domino effect. So let's bring these guys in here, have them work for us for free, get them to relax a little bit, and then boom, put them back out there. It's like, it's a whole life cycle that the narcos have made that I think it's like objectively very impressive how they run this business.
Yeah. It's actually become a business.
It is 100%. And they've monopolized everything. You want Wi-Fi and you live in like some little pueblo or whatever, you're not paying fucking some Wi-Fi provider.
You're paying Verizon and shit.
No. The narcos have literally like changed the wires, and so they're making the money and they're providing you with the Wi-Fi. You want the clean water? Okay, you want to get clean? Well, even if you don't want to get clean, they're gonna pick up your ass. It's like the patrulla espiritual in Tijuana, like, but they're doing it like they're taking them to like a real rehab center. But they run it all. Yeah. They run it all. Literally what we were talking about, Michoacán, the aguacates, that's all narco now.
Yeah.
It's all cartel.
And whether they like it or not too. That's the other thing. A lot of people like in Uruapan and Michoacán and Apatzingán.
Yeah.
So people that had it naturally before, now it's like, now you got to pay us or we're taking it.
Ours.
Yeah.
It's really sad.
Yeah, it is really sad. And I mean, tourist locations, you go to Acapulco, Puerto Vallarta,
Tulum.
A lot of the resorts people don't know that you're staying at, they're owned by like drug dealers and cartels.
Even in like when I went to Cabo, the resorts there, that's all narco.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's just, you're right. It's become, and I think a lot of people don't know that is true, that it's actual business and they monopolize literally everything.
Everything. They run everything.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, because people ask, they're like, okay, so how do you get rid of corruption in the country? And it's like, bro, everyone at every level is on someone's payroll. And if they're not, they turn up dead. So you pick what is the worst of two evils, right? Or the lesser of two evils. And no matter what you're consuming in Mexico, you're probably contributing to the cartel.
Well, even here.
Yeah,
everything that gets exported here.
Everything's corruption here.
Oh, I thought you meant like in the studio. I'm like, damn, this was funded.
No.
Who did this?
No, man, like everything. And like you said, we're the biggest consumers of everything.
I'm in big farmers in my pocket.
You know,
I'm in their pocket actually.
I'm gonna blame Chipotle, fool, because they fucking do the guac and chips. So they're contributing to narcos and shit.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like it.
Oh, yeah,
is,
I saw that someone was talking about this. It's like if you're buying the guacamole at the Chipotle, it's because those avocados came from Michoacan, from a
Somebody said that was.
Yeah, I saw that. I don't know if it runs. I mean, it could. You never know.
Hey, I'm saying, don't be surprised because even, for example, there's a lot of companies here, corporations here, that get import from Mexico and they know what's going on. They import from China, child labor, you know, things, they don't care as long as they make the money. You think about it here, there's corruption at the political level too. So you're talking about all these lobbyists, all these corporations that pay or donate to a politician. Why? Because it's going to push their agenda or push their deregulatory things so they can make more money. So it's happens everywhere. I just think that, like, for example, Mexico gets the worst of it just because it's not the government isn't the same as here, and they don't run as many propagandas as they do here to kind of like make us feel, I don't know, safer. I don't know if that makes sense. Kind of lost my train of thought at the end right there.
Let me go back to, I want to ask you a question. Have you ever met anybody that, because you talked about people that you meet, they're always like the ego, they're glorifying, they want to be show-offs. Have you met anybody that wanted to get out of that lifestyle? That like literally genuinely said, damn, like I'm stuck here. Like I fucking can't get out of this.
No.
No?
Yeah.
No. And I think even if at some point in the beginning they feel like this moral battle that they're like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this or whatever, the fast money is so addictive that they overcome that real quick. Yeah. And no, I haven't spoken to anyone who's doing illegal stuff that's like, I'm stuck, I need to get out. No.
You know, it sucks. The people that are really in charge, they're not doing day-to-day things. They're just literally chilling. So it's like, I'm just getting all this money to do nothing. I just have a bunch of people doing everything for me.
I don't think that they're chilling.
Well, not chilling like that, but like,
I think they are like, they're running a lot of shit because without those head honchos, the lower levels would completely fail.
That's true.
Yeah, no. And I also, back to your question, I don't think the people who wanted to get out of it or feel stuck would ever even talk to me. Yeah, because they just wouldn't want the extra target on their back. So those people could exist, but I don't think they would even talk to a journalist.
That's the part that's kind of like, that's the part that sucks, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, the people that actually do feel like that regret or that want that change. And it's like.
Now you mentioned Ana Hernandez.
Anabel Hernandez.
I came across her books years ago. I think when my baby mama was in Mexico, she was in Ensenada for 9 months. And we would go visit her. Obviously, you know, back then the war on drugs was still going on too. And I remember going through the carretera de Pago, ¿cómo se llama? La carretera.
I know what you're talking about.
The toll roads.
Yeah.
And siempre había paradas de militares. You know, and yo tengo tatuajes y antes en el verano pues tenía cut off shirt y te paran y they surround your ass, you know what I'm saying? And todos están pinches con rifles y todo. ¿De dónde vas? Te preguntan dónde vienes, qué haces, a qué vienes, todo eso es madre. And we went to a bookstore in downtown Ensenada and I ran into, I think it was Los Hijos del Narco. That was one of her books, right? And I was like, oh shit, I remember reading it. And I remember my dad and my mom like, hey, cabrón, ¿qué estás haciendo? Like, no mames. Like,
really? They freaked out about that?
Yeah, because I mean, come on, you know, like you said, our misconception is you go to a place where crime is known to happen, pues te da miedo. And then another instance que también pasó, que mis hijas estaban chiquitas. Tenían, yo creo, 3 y 4 años. And we were at the beach. And we were going so often that we got a little bit like used to it.
Yeah.
And my daughter, she's 3, 4 years old. No sabe nada, right? Empieza a decir she has her toalla y empieza a decir, USA, USA, USA. And I'm like, oh, la madre. La van a raptar esta cabrona. I'm like, oh, like, cállate. So, it's shit like that when you go to, I'll tell you another story later, a little bit, that happened. That one really did scare me, fool. Well, I'll say it now. Veníamos por Otay. Íbamos a cruzar la frontera. Mm-hmm. And it was packed. It was like fucking 8 o'clock at night. And it was me, my mom, my dad, and my 2 daughters. My daughters were 3 and 4. Y mi mamá está de edad y mi papá también, ¿me entiendes? Yo venía con ellos and decided to go to Otay. And Otay is like in the middle of nowhere, fool. Yeah. And we started taking the carretera. And when we were going the carretera, había una piedra that I didn't see. It wasn't even a piedra, fool. It was like a piece of like cement that they put in the fucking road.
On this side of the border?
A cement block.
In Otay, but on this side. Yeah. A center block in the middle of the road, fool. And I remember I had the Yaris at that time, fucking hit it. Boom. And I was like, holy shit, the car brincó. And I fucking pulled over to the side. Y ahí había un Oxxo. Luckily, there was these guys there, fool. Okay? With the head herramienta y todo. What were they doing, fool? They would put blocks para sacarte para afuera.
People's tires?
Fool, eran como 5 de ellos. Y yo me acuerdo que eran como las 9 de la noche ya. Dije, chingue su madre, mis niñas están dormidas, mi mamá. We started panicking, but not showing it. I was like, fuck, like, I already know what this is. This is money grab.
Yeah.
So we're next to the Oxxo, fool, y todo el aceite se cayó del pan. So the pan was literally, they had a hole. The car wouldn't turn on. And I'm like, fuck. Like, I'm not in America. I know if I was in America, I know what to fucking do. Call the grúa. Hey, let's get a hotel. Mm-hmm. The guy started telling us, fool, like, hey, deja el carro aquí, llévate a tu familia.
Oh, God.
And I'm like, oh, no, ahorita yo voy a venir mi camarada. He's like, seguro, porque aquí tenemos herramienta y todo.
That's crazy that they had the fucking tools right there.
Yeah, like, that's what they're doing. They were putting cinder blocks.
I would have called them out right away.
But I didn't. And
you
I was
had
just
the kids.
Like, yeah, I had the kids.
It's different.
Oh, the police pasó. And these fools are flagging them. The police is with them, right? They flag them. All of a sudden, he's like, si quieres, yo te lo reparo. It looks like, nomás tienes que soldarle al...
I had a welder and everything.
I had a welder and everything. Oh, within 5 minutes, llegaron otros 5 vatos con a welder. Like, this fool had everything ready.
This is a business.
Yeah. I paid him $100. So I nomás tengo 100 baros, compa. Gave him $100, but I literally was scared for my life.
I think that was just a scam. You're lucky. Yeah, that's just a scam. They're just...
I mean, you don't fucking know. You know what I'm saying?
The welder walking out is fucking crazy.
But you know what? You got a good deal for a welder's not going to... $100
$100 to fix your car like that?
Yeah.
They're on the side of the fucking road.
You know how much I send my guys when they have to weld? Just saying, you got a good deal.
Oh, I was fucking scared. Oh, I thought this was going to kidnap me and shit.
I feel like if you refused to pay or something, then maybe they would have extorted you.
They didn't even tell me it's $100. I just told them I have $100. I was like, fuck it.
It's weird because I think we've all experienced that in Mexico in some sort of way, you know?
Yeah.
I remember when we used to go to Rosarito just to party. Cross the border. Right when we crossed the border, boom, pulled over. All right. Blah, blah, blah. Where you guys going? Hey, your car, this and that.
La mordida?
Yep. It got to a point, when we were across the border, I just take the money out of them. Were you there with us when I did that? Yeah. And the cop got pissed. Like, he got pissed. He was like, he pulled me out of the car, pulled me to the side, and he started telling me shit like, you're lucky we're right here, like that, because like, don't ever fucking do that again. Right, don't ever show the money because people know. Well, like, we got pulled over and I was just sticking my hand out with the money and shit. Like,
you're being a fucking
I was being a dick, yeah. So, but
when I've got pulled over like twice in Mexico City, or in Mexico actually, by cops, as soon as they get out of the car, I just fucking floor it.
Are you serious? They don't fucking chase you?
No. Well, they try, but I'm like,
and
you got like a fat cop that walks out of the car and he's like walking up to the window, right? And I'm like, oh, and I never carry cash. Like, I'm not gonna, and I'm just like, goodbye. Yeah.
You got balls.
You know what? You were made for this business. Because that's wild.
And like, what are you going to do? And then what, you're going to pull me up and stop me again? And what are you going to make up? Like, what are you going to lie to me? Lie. Mm-hmm. Sorry.
Damn, you got balls.
For real. Yeah. I don't know if I would do that.
That's crazy.
Well, people tell you to do that. Well, I mean, I've seen it too. Like, they're like, hey, like, no tiene por qué pararte. Síguele. Go, just go. Because they'll try to agarrarte de pendeja.
Do you think, when you're over there, you're obviously in a Mexican licensed vehicle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they do it to us because they see American plates?
Yeah, 100%.
That's why. They'll even do it if you're like out of state. And I also think that like the reason I've been stopped is because I'm like a girl. So they can like, they think, oh, she's going to get scared. She will pay.
Yeah. You'd be surprised how often it happens where, you know, like in Michoacan, in my city where my family's from, that it's gotten to the point where like the police officer, people pulling people over. And if they have someone with them, they'll drive the car, they'll like, or handcuff them. They'll drive them out and then they'll just leave them and they'll take off with their car. So now they literally just stole their car, you can say.
Yeah.
So it's become a thing where it's just.
That's why I don't fuck with that because it's also like, whatever you're doing is way more illegal than whatever the fuck you're trying to stop me for.
Yeah.
Adios.
Yeah. It's wild.
I had one time we were crossing the back and there was a dude on the side of the road that was like, I was like, he's like, ¿Quieres que te lleve por una ruta más rápida?
Oh, God.
I said, no. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? He's like, oh, es que se llena. He's like, acá yo por este lado, no hay gente. And I was like, fuck, like, how does this for no one? So you're on the fucking side of the street. I'm like, okay, pues, ¿por dónde voy? You know? And ahora say, yo te llevo. Déjame subirte, yo me subo al carro y te llevo. I'm like, nah, I'm cool, fool. I'll wait in line. Fuck that.
That's like, do they think we're gullible? I don't know.
So, I mean, but I'm assuming it works.
How many times does it work for you? Yeah.
Honestly,
even
though,
if it works one time, fool, that's enough time.
That's true. That's
right?
true.
One out of 5.
But at least like the worst that could happen to you is like they're just gonna take your money.
Yeah, but
like, what do you think they're? Oh, look at this pretty guy. Like, I'm gonna take him over there to a quiet street and bend him over. Like, be so fucking.
No, but I'm just saying because you hear kidnappings. You don't know if they're gonna fucking extort you to call your fucking family.
But typically, the people who get kidnapped for extortion, like, they're known to have a lot of money. Like, they're known. Like, my friend's cousin who got kidnapped, like, he would like always be walking around in Puebla with like a different Rolex on. You know, it was like. They know that you have money. They know what family you're from and stuff like that. A lot of Americans, especially like Mexican Americans, they'll be like, I'm scared they're going to kidnap me. I'm like, they don't want you. Yeah. They're not going to go through all of that for you and probably some sort of, no, there's no way.
It's crazy because I've gotten to the point where like I just lie about my life when I go to Mexico.
What's your story?
So, you know, like people are like, oh, where are you from? Oh, LA.
Well, after this fucking podcast, they're going to know you got money.
I fucked up. So like, I never said I have my own business. You know, how stupid would that be? You know, like,
I mean,
soy soldador, fool. So it's just I say I'm a welder.
That's still money, fool.
But they don't know how much because over there, like ferreteria is like building gates and shit. They don't make money over there. So they have that. They do. Well, they do.
I feel like they do.
So they have like this conception of what that is, right? So they feel like and he probably works for a company over there. So I never say I own a company, and then or I like firefighter something government. So it's like fuck, I can't fuck with this fool, you know? And they'll say shit like when I have my GPS when I get a taxi or whatever, literally I have the location of where I'm going on my phone. When I see this fool going off, like I'm like, oh, sí que tan lejos, you know, like just seeing if he's fucking. Because it's become a thing for where you have to like be careful just in general. Like I don't know if it's paranoia or not.
I haven't gone to Mexico in a long time, fool. I get scared. I mean, I went to Cabo last year, but
that's not considered Mexico.
My God.
Like
I haven't gone back to the motherland.
It's so funny to me that you're like, yeah, I'm scared.
I don't know.
It's not funny. It's just interesting.
No, I'm just saying, like, I don't want to put myself in any fucking danger. I don't need to, you know.
I don't think you would.
You don't, yeah. Like I was in Guerrero this past year. Like, it's fine and
well,
Guerrero,
not right now.
Well, that was there this year, yeah.
Yeah.
When it was a lot going on, like, and people were just like, "Oh, it's fine." Like they would tell us, like, "Yeah, we literally like the industry here is all run by cartel." He's like, "We just don't ask questions and everything's fine." He's like, "You guys are what keeps us going, having tourists coming. That's it. That's the only reason that we survive. So that's why they don't do a lot of things because they need the money from tourism, so they don't want to fuck that up."
Yeah, they're really strict about that. Yeah. If you're going to like a tourist city or whatever, the odds of something happening to you are very low. And if something does happen to you, oh my God, the cops will pull up like to save your life because they do not want to lose that money. It's like, it's the main form of income. Like in Tulum, Cancun, Puerto Vallarta, Puerto Escondido, and it doesn't speak for like the rest of the state, but in those particular places, it's like, okay, we need to watch out. They even have like the specific like tourist police over there. Yeah.
Is there anything you do to like kind of like prepare or be prepared for a situation?
Well, like I always have
besides running from the cops, like speeding off.
I always have like my location shared, and like there's like certain people that always know where I'm at, and I know how to fight. Not that would help me, but I have like really.
You know how to use weapons?
No, and this is you're the well, you're like the second person that's asked me this. Someone was when I was in New York. They're like, you should get a gun. I'm like, I would get a Glock, but
you can't take it to other countries.
I'm not. But also, like, I'm not gonna pull up to talk to a narco and I'm fucking strapped up. Like, okay, cop. Like, no way. Like, it's like, hey, bro, answer my questions. Like, there's no.
Oh, no, you're not gonna do it like that.
Oh
shit,
my god.
But if I'm a narco, I'm gonna be like, all right, you know what you're getting yourself into.
No way. You would be like,
right
why the fuck do you have a gun right now? Like, why are you coming to interview me?
Are you undercover? You CIA?
Yeah.
I'm about protection.
No. This is why you're scared to go to Mexico because, bro, your way of thinking is fuck.
I'm doing fucking.
If I were you, I would also be scared to go to Mexico.
I'm Mexico.
No, see, if you got
all strapped up, grenades and shit. I don't give a fuck.
Looking like El Valiente, El Soldado.
With the bandolier.
You're gonna wear your old Marine uniform.
Yeah, fuck it.
I was in Iraq. Mexico's got nothing on me.
Fuck that. Mexico is worse than Iraq.
Oh man, I'm
paranoid. I'm paranoid.
Yeah,
I can tell.
I'm paranoid.
No, but yeah, like I have critical thinking skills. Like I know if something is about to go wrong. I'm very aware of my surroundings. And I don't get scared. I don't panic.
Yeah.
Rather, like I will get scared, but I don't panic. So I always am very calm. And if I feel like shit is hitting the fan, and there have been some few instances where I'm like, okay, fuck, like this is going sideways. Like we didn't anticipate this or whatever. I'm like, okay, how are we going to get out of this? What am I going to say? How am I going to manejar esta situación? And typically, I mean, I've had good luck with that because I don't freak out, and I'm like, all right, let's think about this logically and critically. And I think that's like what keeps me pretty safe is the fact that I'm not a dumbass. Because there are some people who do this and they get really scared. And as soon as you get really scared and you start panicking, you can see it. They're like dogs, right? Like they smell it, right? Why the fuck? Why are you scared? What do you have to be scared of? Because now you're scaring me. And it's like, your control over your emotions and your body language is very important in these situations. Like even when I was in TJ and we went to that clandestine rehab, like we had permission and we had a source who brought us there, but apparently not everyone on the food chain was aware of it. So we're like up on like the 4th floor, and this guy, you just hear him like boom, 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 boom. Cause like, to go up, it was like pallets, like wooden pallets. And this fucking guy in this like sweatsuit, he's like coming. We're like, who the fuck is here? And he was armed. Yeah. And I was with some other journalists, and they're like, I remember it was like, and when I saw them scared, I'm like, no. And they're men. So I'm like, why the fuck are we scared right now? Like, no. We gotta be calm. Like as soon as we start panicking or whatever, just give them the phone. Just be like, hey, like no pasa nada. Like estamos aquí para trabajar. Like, what can we do to mitigate this? Like, okay, do you want us to not show something? We didn't know. And that's always usually the best. Like, just be honest. Like, I never am like, act like I have like a big dick. Like, I'm just like, I didn't know. Like, what can we do here? How do we? But also it's different for me because, so a lot of the guys that are going on, or journalists that are going on the front lines like this, they're men. So for me, it changes it a little bit because it could literally change in a split second where I'm with people, interviewing them, or like, you know, kind of with like nefarious people. And next thing you know, the top guy's buddy wants to fuck me. Okay. So then I'm like, I'm going to go. And it's like, no, wera, tú te quedas. Okay. What the fuck do I do in that situation? And that's not even me because I'm a journalist, like, or me because I put myself in a bad situation. It's literally just because soy mujer. That's it. Which is, I understand why there are a lot of women who do not want to do this. But typically when I go into these situations, like I do not look like this. Okay. It's like ponytail, no makeup, no nails, baggy clothes, very like básica. But also when you're the only woman in a scenario where it's mostly always men, no matter what, they're going to look at you at like, oh, like mujer. So those are moments where I'm like, fuck, because I'm not afraid of them to like shoot me, but I don't want to get raped and tortured. And that's literally what would happen. And it would be bad. So the only times I've ever gotten like really scared is if I felt like as a woman, I was in danger. And it's been in like work scenarios. And I'm like, fuck, okay, this like could go really sideways. But the way I am, I'm not like fight or flight. I'm between fight or flight, I'm fight. So there's no way if someone like wants to do that, I am going down with a crazy fucking fight. Like that's a non-negotiable. But I just hope that it never comes to that.
Yeah. I think, like I said, remember, I tell you a lot. A lot of us think with emotion or react with emotion, but you just got to think logically sometimes. And a lot of people don't have common sense anymore. So
100%.
So it's surprising, to be honest. But you just brought up something. What's been the worst situation that you've been in, or the scariest situation?
So I've been in like a few that have like made me feel fear, but they've all kind of been different in their own respect. And also it kind of depends because like, for example, if I'm in like an active shootout, it's like you're kind of in survival mode and you're like, okay, I'm caught in a bad, wrong place, wrong time. Or I mean, if I'm working like right place, right time, right? And it's kind of like, okay, I can lay down and survive. But if I'm in a situation where the danger is directly directed towards me, then I'm like, okay, fuck, like I have to be smart about this. Like we were interviewing this guy who runs a lot of like some drug trade stuff. And he had like his buddies there because when we went to interview them, it was actually like the night of like, I think it was like Cruz Azul in America. And like a lot of people go crazy for that shit, right? So they had the game on, he had his buddies over. And I'm like, okay, I wasn't expecting to come into this being like, it's like they're están conviviendo, like we're here to work, right? And so I'm sitting down and they're like, let's just wait for the partido to finish and then we'll set up for the interview and we'll do it. Which I'm not a huge fan of like to have to like convivir un rato así that we're not working because it breaks the professional boundary. And as soon as like, as a girl, I feel like if you break that professional boundary, men will take it like really far. So we're sitting there and this guy is like, basically starts like hitting on me. And it's crazy because we had met with them earlier and he made a comment to me being like, you have such a beautiful face. But it was like, I just took it as like, it was honestly like the way he said it. I was like, just like, oh, it's just a compliment. Okay. I'm like, oh, gracias. Like, yeah, change the subject. But then this night, because that professional level kind of deteriorated because we had to sit and wait, you know, they're bringing out snacks and shit. And typically like if I'm in a situation like that, I will never take like a water even. No.
Open water or anything.
No, but not even because of that. Just because it's like, then you're like connecting with them differently. You know, you're accepting their hospitality and then it's, like, I don't think I'm going to get like poisoned or roofied. I mean, I would hope not. But even if it's like a closed water bottle, no, estoy bien, gracias, right? And he's like, what hotel are you staying at? You know, I looked through your Instagram. You have an amazing body. I'm like, oh, fuck, no. And, you know, my dad gives me shit about that too, because like, I'm just a girl too at the end of the day. Like I want to, you know, on my Instagram and it didn't start off as journalism. So I'll just like post whatever the fuck makes me happy aside from the work stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, like que pendeja, right? Not that I think that would have even changed anything. I think he just liked me or whatever. He was attracted. So he starts like going. And I'm like, so I look at one of the compas that I'm with and I'm like, voy a fumar. Like I'm going to go outside. And he clocked it right away because also like if I'm working, I'm not going to be like, oh, like I'm going to go smoke. So when I get up to go outside, buddy who's like flirting with me or hitting on me comes outside too. I'm like, fuck. And so my compa was like, todo bien. I'm like, no, it's like, it's going down. Like this is not,
Like, we need to get the fuck out of here, or we need to get this done?
We need to get this done.
Yeah.
I wasn't like, we gotta fucking go, but I was like, it's turning into something that could possibly be bad, because the first thing that comes through my mind when that's happening is this guy, he was like the right hand for the guy we were interviewing. Imagine if it's like, oh, ya nos estamos yendo, and Buddy just tells him, he's like, you know, I want her to stay. I like her. And then he's like, all right, you know what, guys? She can stay. And I'm just like...
The other guys are forced out of there.
Yeah. And also usually, like, you know how people think in the movies and stuff, it's like, bitch, you're fucking staying. It's not like that. It's like, it's calm. And that's what's scarier, because it'll be like, no, don't worry. We got a taxi for you outside. Go ahead. Go. And you're like, that shit is way scarier, because you know that they're not playing around. So we did that, and he was like really like riding my tail, and I'm just like, oh my God, like this needs to be over. And then it comes to a certain point where you feel so uncomfortable that as much as I feel like I'm trying to hide it, I'm nervous, because I'm like, this night could take a crazy fucking turn that I never anticipated. And I don't expect anyone to come and save me at this point. So thankfully, like, that was okay. But there was another scenario too where I was, you know, in a place, and this one guy, again, it was like, me gustas and stuff. And I'm like, bro, you need to actually shut the fuck up. Like, this is, because that's my first reaction. And this is really bad, is I'm not like, oh, no. It's like, yeah, cállese a la verga, please. Like, I'm not doing this right now. Which is not good, because I'm like inside, like a man, like a macho. So then that will come out. But it's like, bro, I have nothing to show for that. Like, I can't be like big dog. Like, let's, you know, I like.
Yeah, you can't. You tell me, cállate a la verga, I'm like,
this bitch, right? Like, who? Like, I could, dude, you could knock me down with your fucking big toe. Like,
damn, you want fucking X-ray vision or what?
But, and they're like, I got pissed, right? Like, I didn't have the patience. And this was one of the first things that happened to me. So I learned from that. And his buddy was like, ¿por qué no le haces caso a mi compa? Like, ¿quién te crees? And this is another thing, because it's the macho stuff in Mexico. As soon as you reject someone, you're like, no, they're like, oh, okay, bitch. Like, who the fuck do you think you're ugly? Like, they like go for the throat. And so he was like, you know what? Ya no me gusta que estás aquí. Bájate. Hay un carro esperándote afuera. I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. And he's like, what did you say your name was again? This is all in Spanish. He said, what'd you say your name was again? I'm like, que te valga verga. But this is my problem, right? So, and his buddy is like, oh, you want to talk to him? Like, oh, you think you're hot shit? You want to talk just like that? I'm like, no, I'm minding my own business. You guys came in here and you guys start running your mouth. You really expect for me not to return it to you? So I'm like, I'm not going anywhere, because I was shitting my pants at this point. I even texted my dad, I love you, at like 3:00 in the morning. He imagine if you know your daughter's like in Mexico covering the shit and you get a text from that. Poor guy. So anyways, I'm like, no, I'm not going anywhere. He's like, okay. He makes a call, and these like malandros show up, and he just points at me and he's like, ahí está la paquete, llévatela. Bro, imagine, have you ever
Like
been
that?
referred to as the package?
La paquete. Fuck that.
So I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, literally, I go into survival mode, and I'm like, no, like, this is not how my night is going to end. This is not happening. Like, I'm not playing this fucking game, which, like I told you, when I get scared or sad or whatever, I'm like, I'm pissed, because why the fuck am I letting someone make me feel like this when I'm not doing anything? I'm doing my job. And so I got pissed off. Oh, because he asked me, he was like, what was your name again? And the guy who was hitting on me told him my name. So he's like, you know, Googling it. And then he shows me like on Google Images, he's like, is this you? And I'm like, yeah, like obviously. And then when you search me up to, like, my mom's memorial comes up from her death, and he's like, es tu mamá, ya es hora que visitas a tu mamá, or something like that.
Fuck.
And when I told my dad this, he literally almost disowned me, but I responded, I'm like, mejor quiero ver a la tuya. Dude, because...
So you would just double down on shit.
I doubled the fuck down, which in the end, like, obviously I'm still here, right? Like, it saved me, because I lost my shit when they had those guys come up, the malandros, and he's like, llévatela. I got up and I'm like, yo no me voy a ir a ningún puto lado y menos con ustedes. Like, I was like, fucking try it. And because I was pissed because I'm scared, right? Which I would never do this now. But when this happened, I was so fight or flight that I was like, let's go, right? And so I was like, if you do something to me, you have no idea who's got my back right now. Te va a llegar por tres, whatever you do to me. And, you know, also like in Mexico, like that shit scares people because there's a lot of the santeria and stuff. So if I'm like, do something to me and it's going to come back to you 3 times worse, they're like, what the fuck? And also because they were trying so hard to scare me and intimidate me.
And it wasn't working.
Inside it was. But when I showed like, all right, motherfucker, let's double down. They're like, okay, who is she? Because that's another thing in Mexico too, is you can kind of bluff it. Like you can be like, no sabes quién soy. And they'd be like, I actually don't. Like shit, right?
Yeah.
But I would not act like that now. And I wouldn't recommend people to act like that because that's a 50-50, right? It's you flip a coin. Either that works.
Gonna work or it's not gonna work.
And I dipped like I did, or they're gonna be like, you want to talk to us like that? You're dead now. Like literally. So typically now I will just like de-escalate and I won't interact as much as I did in that moment. But that moment really scared me. Like I had a panic attack and I've never had that happen to me before.
So hold up. I want to finish the story because.
Okay.
So then you doubled down. At what point did you see the escalation?
When I stood up and I banged the table and I started yelling at them and I'm like, this is going to come, if whatever you do to me right now is going to come back to you.
And what did they do? Like, they're like, chill.
Well, the first guy who was on my ass, he was like, okay, like, yeah. And then he tells his buddy, he's like, pídele perdón, which I think pissed him off the most of anything that was said. He's, ay, ni madre. It's like, I'm not going to fucking say sorry. I'm like, you don't need to say sorry, but just don't, if you ever see me again or whatever, do not ever talk to me. Like ever. Don't even look in my direction. I'm like, yo ya me voy a mi casa. Y'all are going to wait and reflect on what just happened. Like, we're not doing this. And so when I left and I'm like, get me the fuck out of here. And I was really hoping that when I went out, like, obviously that there's no fucking carro there.
And you wait yourself?
Yeah. And I was just hoping to, like, they were bluffing. Because there's a lot of alucines in Mexico, right?
Yeah.
A lot of guys, like, this guy was probably just like a drug dealer, whatever. Who he didn't have the power to fucking have me taken away by these malandros and kill me. Like, they were probably like, what the fuck is this? Like, what are we getting into? And who is she? So I was hoping that, and I think it was like, it wasn't as deep as they made it seem. And I was scared on the inside, but on the outside, I was like, no, we're not doing this right now. We're not doing this.
Hell no. You know what's funny? I was laughing inside when she said something where it's like, do you know who I am? Why the fuck we still do that shit? Like sometimes I get into altercations with people here and it's like, do you know who I am? No, and I don't give a fuck anymore. Like, what?
Well, that's the thing. It's like she said, fool, it's going to go work 50-50. You're going to do what you did with, no, bitch, I don't give a fuck. Or you're going to be like, oh, fuck, who am I fucking with?
Especially in Mexico.
Mexico, it makes sense. But
it works here too.
For me, here is like.
It works here too. I've done it.
I've seen people like go viral for being like, do you know who I am? And they're like, who the fuck are you? And everyone's like, this loser. And it's like, my husband works at University of Virginia.
That's different. That's different.
He's the head of the philosophy department, bitch.
Yeah, I find that funny.
They're like, they mean it. Like, it's not a bluff. And I'm like,
I don't think it's that. It's like a mechanism because, like with me, I'm very chill now. I used to love to fight, right? And to me, it's more like, do you know what I can fucking do to you if I want to? Like you catching me on my chill moment. Do you want to take me there? That's what I would mean, personally. Like you don't know me to know that I'll fucking murder you. You know what I'm saying?
That's crazy to say on the record.
No, I'm saying I know. It's like that.
No fear. You know he's capable of murder. Watch out.
But that's here in the U.S. Once you go to Mexico, shit.
He won't even go.
Hell no.
Say that.
I won't get away with the shit that she said.
But it's different too, because sometimes being a girl, it can play in your favor a little bit. Because
I'd be intimidated by you if I was a narco. I'm like, what the fuck?
That's really nice. That's definitely not true. Like, I don't think that I could.
Yeah. If I was a narco, that's me again.
Oh my God. The guy who would even step foot into fucking Mexico.
Right?
Yeah, I know, for real.
You would intimidate me. Oh, great, thanks. Let me put that on my fucking resume.
I want to talk about something because, you know, obviously the war on drugs started in the 70s, right? I think it was Nixon or something that officially declared a war on drugs. And we've seen it progress. We've seen it through documentaries, TV shows. What change have you seen in your experience that you're seeing, or that it's leading to something else? Because personally, I don't think the war on drugs will ever end. I don't think it can end, because as long as there's financial gain, there's no way of stopping it.
It will, and there's always, like, everyone's noses are hungry in this country. So that's just...
Yeah. So what changes have you seen, or what do you think is going to happen?
I think, like, the biggest and most brutal change that I've seen is the level and methods of warfare right now in Mexico. Like, you know, it used to be like pow, 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 guns, whatever, extortion, kidnapping. But now it's like they have got military grade armored vehicles, like the narcos. They're using fucking landmines. They've got crazy bombs and grenades. And like the weaponry is just next level. And I think that then crosses the line of, okay, this was, you know, the war on drugs, and, you know, it's like perpetual, to now it's like typical warfare style fighting. And like, you wouldn't think, like, being in Mexico, you walk out and it's like being in fucking Call of Duty, but it's literally becoming that. And the way that they're like exploding cars and like puestos, like businesses, the level of weaponry they have is so next level that they basically are like toe to toe with the military, which is why the military has stepped it up. And I did that report on how they brought in the Ocelot, which is like the most heavily armored vehicle. They brought them in from Dubai because they have to, because you cannot bring a knife to a gunfight. But at this point, the cartels and the military, they're neck and neck about the level of warfare they have, which is really scary, and scary for regular people because two reasons. First, you're telling me that these guys in the cartel who are untrained, a lot of them are really young, they're scared, they're drugged the fuck up, have access to this crazy level of armor, and they're going in and wreaking havoc where there's like civilians around. So that causes like collateral. But then also a lot of like Guardia Nacional and stuff like that, they're also just like young guys who, a lot of them are fucking scared, and you can see it. And they're supposed to go up against these big bad guys who have nothing to lose and are ready to fight to the death. Come on. I would not feel like I don't, but if I was living in like an area where this was like a constant, like in Guerrero, like in Sinaloa, I would be so scared and I wouldn't feel protected. That's a big change. That is the level of warfare.
Do you think at some point we've seen it where people are getting fed up, like where I'm from? A lot of the people got fed up and started like a resistance, right?
Yeah, like the vigilante groups. Yeah.
But then that vigilante group turned into
a cartel.
I know. So
I think it involves money, fool.
Yeah.
As long as you throw money at them, like she said, nobody's ever gonna say no to them.
Yeah, but like what I'm trying to say is that is it gonna get to a point where it affects it? I saw your things on Sinaloa. Sinaloa is known for, you know, having, you know, in La Boulevard, like on the main street, they have like lavandas all the time, you know, El Malecón. They have all these things and this culture of having like live music and events and parties and seafood and all this stuff. But when you're doing it, even the grocery stores were closing. So
yeah, because a guy fucking ran in and he was like apparently screaming for help that these armored guys were following him. And I think that may have been a case of mistaken identity, which, see, that's another thing. Like, you may look like someone thereafter. You're just chilling. And next thing you know, you've got like this convoy of armed up guys behind you. What the fuck do you do? And if they kill you and you're the wrong guy, whatever, we just go find the right guy.
Yeah.
It's horrible. Sorry, I cut you off, but
so I just want to know, like, if you feel like at some point, like, I don't know, what's going to happen to these cities that how are they going to survive? Or are people just going to like be like, you know what, fuck that, I'm out of here? Like, what's going to be the repercussions of all of this?
Okay, the repercussions are going to be bad, and I don't know what they're going to do, because even right now, Culiacan's economy is so bad because businesses have to close so early. People are afraid to go out. Oftentimes people are advised by the government not to leave their houses and go out. And then people's cars are getting robbed. Like, there's no security, right? But no one is really focusing. Like, in Mexican politics, no authorities are really like addressing this issue of the government, of the economy. They're literally in like a COVID economy right now, minus any sort of financial help that the government provided, because it's obviously not a global pandemic. But when you're in a war zone, you can't operate a fucking business. You can't go out and like live your daily life. And that really affects the economy, especially in a place where the economy was once booming. That's why when shit hit the fan maybe a week ago or a little bit more in Mazatlan, it was like, fuck, like the tourist zone. And also, this is like the worst timing for it. I mean, any time would be bad, but if we're focusing on the economy, typically snowbirds from Canada, from anywhere where you get like a cold winter, they have places or timeshares, or they just vacation in Mazatlan. It's like the hot snowbird destination. So typically these people will go in November and stay until like March. How many people are not going to go now? Probably a lot of them, because this violence, sure, it started in Culiacan and bordering cities in Sinaloa. People were still like, fuck it, I know I can go to Mazatlan. Like, we always go and we're going to be safe. And then shit hits the fan in Mazatlan. You don't want to be caught in that, even if you have, like, you're not involved at all. So that's really affecting the economy. And you don't hear like Sinaloa's governor, Rocha Moya, or, Claudia Sheinbaum, president, being like, okay, this is how we're going to make sure that the economy continues to flourish while we're still fighting this war. And the worst part is the people who are affected by the economy are not the fucking narcos who are racking it in, or not really racking it in because they're at war, but it's like regular people who are just trying to pay their bills, who are just trying to live. And let's be for real, a lot of those people who are going to be most affected weren't racking it in before. So now that it's like a huge money loss, that's like life or death.
That's crazy.
I know. You have any questions about the cartels or?
No, I mean, one last question, I guess. Who do you think is the cartel that runs Mexico?
The Mexican federal government.
Yeah?
Yeah. Everyone is on someone's payroll. I mean, Sinaloa cartel, we know, is, like the biggest, most functioning cartel in Mexico. But since this division of the factions, between Mayo and Chapo, and that's like such a convoluted topic too, because he says he was kidnapped, and then they say that they made a deal between between U.S. Chapo and Mayo. It's a whole thing. And then now, La Maíza has formed, the Chapitos have formed the alliance with CJ&G, with the Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación, which is known to be like a very violent, brutal cartel. So you have so many figures at play, but it always comes back to the fucking government, because without those people being clean, without those people tackling corruption and staying away from criminal organizations, like profiting off of it, like we've seen that the governor Rocha Moya has allegedly been, how the fuck do you tackle any of this? You cannot. There are no checks and balances in place. So until the government is like clean, which who knows when that's going to happen, because we just elected in, like a narco government. I'm probably going to get shit on for that, but say what you want. I've seen it with my eyes. I've talked to people. I've heard it. People will always come and discredit, because especially when you get into politics. But when you are talking to the people that are actually affected, people who have lost their kids, people who are making no money, what's going on. And if you turned a blind eye, or if you deny it, you're just being a dumbass. Oh.
No, I completely agree with you. I've always said that the government over there is the biggest reason. Just in general, everywhere, actually. When your country's going to shit, blame the government.
They literally found out, though, that, AMLO was...
His brother was involved in all that, right?
And he made money, during his campaign from the Sinaloa cartel. Yeah. Imagine if you found out that, okay, so you guys have the elected Donald Trump now as president. Imagine if it came out.
We didn't elect him.
I don't know. This country, everywhere. It's just crazy, right? Imagine if it was oh yeah, actually, just so you guys know, the Hells Angels put $1 million into his campaign and he like accepted it. I mean, yeah, I know he's already a convicted felon, but that just adds another level of impunity and corruption. And that's literally what happened in Mexico. And it was like, okay, this happened. Okay, chingón, no, pues seguimos con lo mismo.
What are the options though? Like when I think about it right now, for example, you do get these people that want to go in there into government in Mexico and make a change. We've seen it.
And then they die.
And then they get killed.
Yeah.
A couple of days later, a day later. I forgot there was a mayor that went in 1 day later. He didn't even last a day.
He was not even 24 hours.
And he got killed.
And he got assassinated.
So it's like, how does this change? So it feels like a lot of these people are like, either I just get on the payroll and make money and live, or it's like, do I really want to make a change? Does it really gonna affect? So it's a difficult situation, and it's like, how do you clean up the government when like there's no power in government? Literally, the cartels have all the power and the say, I guess I should say.
It also complicates it more when there's such a high level of poverty in the country.
Yes.
Because, okay, so like, obviously this is like my disclaimer. I'm not Mexican. I can't vote. And I don't like have a political stance. I just talk about what I know. And people openly knew that the Morena party was, you know, had criminal organization ties and was profiting off of the Sinaloa cartel. And they voted for it again. And a lot of people's reasoning for that, well, a lot of people were pissed off, people who didn't vote for Sheinbaum. But a lot of people's reasoning was that AMLO brought in really strong social services and programs. Like he increased the minimum wage. Mm-hmm. He got people a pension, things that like were never like that didn't really exist in Mexico. Like you have a pension, you know, you would see like grannies selling tamales on the street because they were not getting a pension. So I can really understand and empathize with people who are like, I want this government because it makes my life that is a life of poverty more bearable. But at the same time, a lot of people say that, well, those people just have to bite the bullet for like a future, a better country. But then again, I think I would be a dumbass to say that voting for any other presidential candidate would have resulted in no corruption.
And we've seen it, Pablo Escobar. Why were the people like just crying when he died, when he got killed? Because he built schools, he built hospitals, he took like disenfranchised like communities and built upon them, built houses. So, and where my family's from, they do that. They give back to the communities. And in a way, you're kind of buying people, I guess you can say, people's like sympathy and protection and
support.
acceptance.
Yeah.
More than anything. So. Yeah, it's a crazy thing. I mean, I wish we could go into the gritty, but to the real stuff.
It's
but
really complicated.
It's really complicated, and it's really hard to talk about because, like we said, there is no oversight even for you with safety. For us, safety, you know, going into certain topics can spiral into other things. But
and you know, I know a lot of. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I know a lot of, especially in Mexico City, some very wealthy people who were born and raised there. And they're so fucking passionate about Mexican politics. And I'm just like, you don't have the lived experience to ever understand why someone in this country who has such a different life than you would vote the way that they did or would accept monetary support from a known cartel member, because you don't have to.
Yeah.
Your life is so fucking different. And being born in a country like Mexico with a silver spoon in your mouth is very different than being born in the United States with a silver spoon in your mouth. The level of privilege that you have is so much fucking higher, and your life is so much more different than someone who has to fucking drop out of school and like take care of their fucking siblings and help the family pay the bills.
Yeah. You got any questions? I got one more before.
Before what?
Before we move on to our segment, our segments.
Well, so no manches.
So
okay.
I want to ask, you're putting yourself in all these conflict zones and in danger. Is there a limit, or is there one thing that you'll be like, no, I will never do it? Or does the journalist in you be like, this is that one story, the one shot, the one picture you can say that it's like, I have to do it no matter what?
I will always do it. Nothing is off limits. Because if I don't do it, like who else is going to do it? And there are other people like doing it, but we exist for a reason, you know? Mm-hmm. And so I'm willing to be in any scenario, talk to anyone to get the story and to inform the public. I don't have a limit. I mean, even right now, I'm kind of working on some stuff about human trafficking from, you know, South America into Mexico, smuggling women in who work in sex work, especially in the border. And it's so fucked because, you know, like, it's really complicated because these women's lives it's terrible, but they're making money, but they're being abused. You know, they're like, a lot of them have kids and stuff, and they're just and they're doing this work that they don't want to do it. You know, I've spoken to a lot of men who say, I know a lot of girls who work in the Hong Kong and TJ and they want to be there. I'm like, are you fucking stupid, bro? Like, be so for real right now. No woman I'm going to get hate for this. No woman really actively wants to have to fuck for money and have to support her family because that's the only way she can do it. And that's the fastest way of money. And I know that there is like this movement about like women who want to do sex work, but a woman who's doing OnlyFans in LA is very different than a woman who came from Venezuela and is standing outside of a club, you know, meeting with like upwards of 10 guys a night in TJ. There's no comparison. And doing that coverage, yeah, it fucks me up. And also because, you know, I'm talking to the people who are running this operation, basically pimps. And I've had people be like, well, how are you going to give them a platform? I'm like, well, it's part of the story. I'm not saying what they're doing is right or wrong. I'm not putting my opinion. This is painting the whole picture of what's going on. Mm-hmm. So nothing is really off limits for me because I want to cover everything and I want to tell everything and I want to see everything so that I know what I'm telling the public, what I'm posting and publishing is legit and it's real. And I can be like, look, I saw this here. You can see it for yourself now too.
Crazy.
That's a whole nother thing that we didn't even get into or touch on, like the whole trafficking thing. And it's is bad. A big thing. I mean, yeah, it is really bad. And you're right. Like these places like Hong Kong, you know, everybody knows about them. Everybody talks about them. And people would be shocked because, you know, there's always been brothels in Tijuana and places like that. And what people didn't realize, there was a lot of people that lived in San Diego that would go work in Tijuana. I don't know if you knew this. Yeah. We knew someone that did that.
Well, I know that a lot of the San Diego State girls were going over there to make money for their tuition.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you know, like, not all of the girls there are trafficked. Like, a lot of the girls will go and just, like, work to do it. But it is such an underbelly of what a lot of those girls are exposed to and what it can lead to. Like, so what I've been told in talking with some of these women is if you work at the Hong Kong, allegedly, you have to weigh under 110 pounds. I mean, you'll see some, like thicker girls there. So I don't know, but it's like a thing. They like watch your weight and it depends on your floor time and stuff like that. And, you know, you're welcome to do all the drugs you want. Like you'll see in those clubs, a lot of the girls will like duck down because they're using a popper. Like a lot of them are on meth. And I feel like that also just speaks volumes because you're around so many different people and some scary people and you walk into a room with a guy and you don't know what is going to happen. I mean, there's one guy on YouTube. I found him during COVID. He like walks through TJ and he has like a hidden camera and I cannot for the life of me, and I've had other people look at it, figure out where he's hiding this camera, but it's really good quality. It's not in his glasses or something, but I think it's like on his chest, but no one clocks it. And he walks through it's Zona Rosa, right? Or Zona Norte. He's walking through there and he's filming all the girls and then he'll like go and talk to girls and then he'll figure out who has the best price and who he likes the best. And then he'll like take them into a motel or like, you know, the ones, and then it cuts off. And then you can go to his fucking like Patreon or his OnlyFans and he posts the full video of them having sex on there and the girls don't know.
And this was out on YouTube?
Yes.
But his Patreon is where he posts other stuff. Of course. That's so
he'll title it as like a TJ walking tour through like Zona Norte, but he's actually like soliciting girls to like go and get service. And he's American. Like he doesn't speak Spanish.
That's fucking crazy.
Some people sell their souls, dog. I feel like some people sell their souls for just I don't know that situation. I don't even know what the fuck it is. Is it for maybe that's his thing? I don't know. Who knows? But
there's a lot of creepy people. Yeah, there are a lot of freaks.
It's crazy. I don't know. I don't even want.
Well, he's getting paid obviously, so he's doing it for money, and he's fucking. So that's a double positive for him, you know. But morally, like, damn.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. There's so many things tied to morality with everything that we've talked about.
Yeah, and it's really complicated, and sometimes that's why I like talking, especially about this. I don't know what to say because I know that there are a lot of people who will be like, no, like those girls aren't trafficked, or other people who would say all those girls are trafficked, or, you know, well, sex work always exists, of course. But there's so much really harrowing shit that goes on over there.
Yeah. It goes back to what I said earlier. Every action or non-action has a reaction, and unfortunately, all these, I don't want to call them industries, but all these things are so like intertwined with each other that it's crazy.
And also, like when I'm going in there, like if I go into HK or wherever, and I'm like, I talk to the girls, what they tell me is very different than what they will tell you guys if you 100%. Walk in. Even if we go in with the same, you know, the same aspect of like, we just want to talk. I just want to hear what your story is. Because like, even when I went to Hong Kong for the first time, I think they gave me like a separate wristband so that they know that I was like not a part of it. And I think I was like the only woman in there. There literally like all the other patrons were men. So that's also like weird for them, or not weird, but it's unusual. And then I would go to the smoking section, and then the girls will come and be like, so what are you doing here, blah, blah, blah. And then they'll open up. And what they're telling me about how the fact like, oh, you know, yeah, I came here from Michoacan, from like a really small town. I have a daughter. My baby dad doesn't know I do this. He thinks that I'm working as a waitress and I'm sending money back.
Fuck that.
That's sad. That's
and they're like really young. Like, and that's the thing. And like, you know, I tell people this all the time. I'm like, if it wasn't for the fact that like I had, you know, my ambition set, I had resources, I had a good support system. What kept me from ending up in the same fucking position? Because everyone thinks that they're so far off from it and they're so removed, but it doesn't take a lot for you to have to be in the same position.
Yeah.
It's it goes back to what you said earlier, survival. You know, a lot of people, I mean, you know, especially like in places like that, you know, Mexico, Libya, economically, there isn't much fucking money for people that come from that class. Mm-hmm. They're literally dirt poor. So what option is there? So, you know, like it makes, it's sad. It's one of those things that's definitely like always gets to me. And I've told him about it, like a lot of things I feel like us as men, sometimes like we feel that part of the industry and it leads to trafficking, regardless if we like it or not. Regardless if we're not, as long as there's sex involved, it's always going to be a thing.
Yeah. And I think it's really important to tell these stories too, because I think a lot of people dehumanize the people in this trade. Yes. Even like in Mexico City, when there was a lot of murders of working girls, the way it was reported on, the way people reacted, be like, oh, well, she's just a whore, you know, she knew what she was, whatever. No. Like, that's a human being, and that could have been you, that could have been your sister, that could have been your daughter, that could have been your mom. Like, you never know, and nobody deserves to die for that, especially the way a lot of these girls get treated. It's not, like I said, it's not just like a bullet. Yeah. It's like they die in a really brutal way, and that's fucking ugly no matter what way you put it.
Yeah. Damn. We could literally talk about it all day.
I think we're going to have that one once you finish that piece that you're working on.
Oh, I would love to. Yeah, that would be great.
That would be cool. We'll talk about, you ready to move on to No Manches?
Yeah.
You want to start it off?
Go ahead. I think you said you had a bunch.
So I did, and fuck, I forgot what it was. I forgot what the conversation was at that point. I got, you know, into everything else, but I forgot what the hell it was when I said that. That's my No Manches.
What is No Manches?
It's like a pet peeve.
Yeah. You know what you say? Like, no manches.
No mames. No mames. Like.
So we bring up situations where they're either like funny or just like
that happened in this conversation or generally.
No, just in general. Or like recently.
I remember. Okay, I remember. We're talking about like you know, people and when they report like the positive things. Oh, a dog was found, right?
Yeah.
No manches to the people on fucking Ring and the Nextdoor app. I fucking hate. Stop sending fucking alerts on, lost dog. Has anybody seen this dog? Okay, I understand that part. But then there's like, the Dodgers had just won the World Series, right? Oh my God, what are those loud noises? Fool, they're fucking fireworks. Chill. Like, people go crazy on these apps.
Did you see
dude.
the guy who got his hand blown?
Yeah, it blew off.
That was crazy. And I commented on that because his buddy comes up to him. He's like, "You good, bro?" Like, bro, what the fuck? He doesn't have a hand.
He's like, I'm
what
good,
do you mean, are you good? Oh, that video
He
was...
held it on too long or what?
He went to like, he's holding the firework. He goes to light it and the firework exploded in his hand. And his hand, like all his fingers, like everything, it literally blew up. Yeah, gone.
You guys be surprised how often it happens. It happens a lot. For 4th of July, it happens a lot.
Yeah.
So anyway, just back to that. Like, people stop fucking doing that. Like, I get alerts. Yeah.
You know, you can just delete the app, right?
No, I can't because I have it. And I have to like see who's at my front door. And
yeah, but like, just, you don't have to go on the fucking group chat thing.
No, I don't, but I get notifications.
Turn those off.
I do have them to silent, but when I look at my phone, like, it's just all.
Well, that's just crazy because it's only, I think it's only in the, this one lives in a white neighborhood, so it's only in the white neighborhood, fool.
It's like a
live in Redlands.
That was giving Caucasian, like, very much. Like, it's like, fucking Karen lost her dog again.
Yeah.
Put that chihuahua on a fucking leash.
I'm saying because I live in Redlands and I get the same fucking notifications if firework goes off. It's like, I hear shots. I'm like, bitch, you ever lived in the hood? That shit does not sound like shots.
That is not a fucking shot. But you see like the lights and shit.
Yeah.
Like, bro, they're not fucking bombs. They're not.
Mine has something to do similar to fireworks. My no matches was obviously Trump won the election. Right?
That's all no matches in itself, but go on.
That's no matches. But so I live in Redlands, right? And my neighbor, I'm not gonna say his name, but
say it.
He's a white boy.
Say his name. Say it.
Children get in trouble.
Come on.
Hey, what's up, Kyle?
Full throttle.
What's up, Kyle?
Kyle, your neighbor fucking hates you.
Nah, he's cool as fuck. He's cool as fuck. He's like, for the most part, he's chill. These people have met him. He's a white boy. He's a Trump supporter, obviously. And then I have my other neighbor who's a Marine ex-Marine as well. He's a Trumper. We know who the Trumpers are. We know who the non-Trumpers are. Anyways, fucking Tuesday, it was like 11 o'clock at night. I think Trump had just given a speech about winning or whatever. And all of a sudden I hear fireworks, right? And I'm like, what the fuck?
That sounds like a fucking dying dog food. That doesn't sound like a fireworks.
So I'm chilling with my daughter. and we're watching. My daughter's pissed off. She's like, I hate Trump, Dad. I was like, why? Like, whatever. I hear fireworks. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like, nobody in this neighborhood really puts fireworks up unless it's me. And then I look out the window and I see smoke. Like, it's really close. And I'm like, what the fuck? And then I hear the fireworks again, right? They're popping off. And I see the smoke, but it's like literally right in front of my house. I'm like, don't tell me it's fucking Kyle burning fucking fireworks. And I walk outside, and here comes Kyle walking with his fireworks and his little mug and shit, whatever he was drinking.
With no hand.
Oh my God.
You good,
Out of
bro?
pocket.
He says, you know what he says to me? He says, if y'all fuckers could burn fireworks for the Dodgers, why can't I work fireworks for my president? I said, no, fuck you. That shit was funny.
That's crazy.
That was my no matches. I'm like, no mames, it's fucking.
You know what's funny though? Like in my neighborhood, like, you know, it's like a nice neighborhood, and you can tell for the most part, the people are cool, and you could tell they weren't. There's no signs anywhere on my street for Trump or Harris or whatever, but I do have one. Remember the one I've talked about?
The one that fucking calls the cops if you park outside?
Yeah, that guy.
Oh,
so
God.
I can't have loud music because that guy's one of those. So he always would put his signs like "fuck you, Biden," like before, right? Like last election. This time he didn't do anything. So you know what he did? He stopped saying hi to us. Like he doesn't even wave at me no more.
Why?
Like I have no idea. I'm running now. Like I'm starting to run. So I see him outside. I'll wave and I continue to do it. I don't know why I should just be like, oh, fuck this fool. But I continue to wave. And he just looks at me and I'm like, all right, like now I know we made eye contact. I waved, you didn't do anything back. And I don't post anything like that makes me be like, oh, Democratic or oh, leftist. Exactly. That's the only thing. So it's
if I were you, like I would keep waving, but I would double the fuck down. Like if you know his name.
I do. It's Keith.
Morning, Keith.
Yeah, I do sometimes.
Morning. How's the wife?
Yeah,
Just double down. Fuck him. And he'll keep ignoring you. Do it every day.
If I say, how's the wife? I think she's not with him. So.
Even better.
That's what he says.
Yeah, nah, but like, it's one of those things like, all right, whatever, fuck you. He's one of those people that I would get his, like, I got his mail once, NRA. So I was like, oh, hey, Keith, by the way, you can't even get near his mailbox because that fool pops out right away.
Oh, he's like, get off my property.
Yeah,
that's very
people.
American because in Canada
people,
you can't have like guns and stuff like that. So,
Because illegal?
well, you can have certain types of guns, but you have to be like, you have to take like a whole course, and you can only have you can only take it out of the box at a range. You can't have a loaded gun in your house. Like,
holy shit,
it's very strict. It's like Australia, and it has to be registered, and like there's only certain types of guns. Like you cannot,
Common sense.
And you can't like buy it at stores.
Loaded gun in my house. Well, I would want one.
In your house? You know how many kids die from loaded guns?
Yeah, but that's if you don't have it in a safe. You don't do proper freaking safety protocols. Come on now.
Have you seen that video like where the kids are like the cousins? They're playing with the gun, and then she accidentally shoots her cousin.
Yeah,
it's so bad. That's so scary.
For me, you know, I feel strongly about guns. I own guns. But I also feel there should be regulation.
I don't even own guns, and you're more anti-guns.
If I was American, I would own a gun.
I'm not anti-gun. Here's the thing.
That's what I'm saying. You just said
I'm for common sense. Yeah. There is no reason someone should be able to go get a gun without. We have to fucking take tests for drivers.
He's a responsible gun owner.
Yeah,
that's what I said, fool. Like, you're not gonna own a loaded gun and just keep it out in the fucking open and carry it in your fucking...
But why even load it? Like, I understand you have a safe.
Well, safety.
But what's happened at your house? How many people have broken into your house?
Nobody breaks into my house because I'm the only Mexican in my house. I think they're fucking scared.
You're the one breaking into people's houses and shit because you're the Mexican.
I say, hey, what's up, Kyle? You got any more fireworks?
I love how you don't have a gun, but you're like, of course I'd have a loaded gun. You don't even have the gun to load.
I don't have a gun because... we talked about it earlier. You don't know me. You remember? So, I don't want to get to that level where you know me.
There's like 3 police officers on my street, so I don't even have a loaded gun. So it's like I have my guns there, have them in their cases locked, but it's like, why do I need a loaded gun? It just doesn't make sense. For me, if someone breaks in, alarm will go off or hear something, and it's
why
like...
do you fucking have rifles and fucking...
Those are just for fun.
Automatic weapons.
No, they're not automatic. You can't buy automatic weapons in California.
Oh my god, you guys incriminate the fuck out of yourselves on here.
No, everybody knows we're joking.
Shit, I was like, oh, I gotta be careful, I'm not out of pocket, right? No,
everybody knows we're joking. We're joking, guys, right?
We're joking.
Fuck, don't take it serious.
Every time he does that, it discredits the joke part.
Yeah, that's part of the joke.
I have a good no munches.
All right, let's go.
So I didn't know that in your country, contact lenses are considered controlled substances by the FDA. Yeah. So basically, I lost my glasses and I wanted to go to a movie. I went to watch Anora. Oh my God, it's like the best movie of the year. And I told my girlfriend, I'm like, we got to go like get something. I can't go to the theater if I can't see. She's like, okay, like where should we go? I'm like, let's go to Lens Crafters. I'm just going to buy a box of contacts. And I know, like I've done this in Canada. I've done this in Mexico, like everywhere. Like I think I even did this in Spain. So we go to the Lens Crafters. I go in and I'm like, hey, could I get a box of like 1 point whatever, like for distance, no stigmatism. This woman looks at me like I'm fucking stupid. She's like, are you kidding? Like, she literally said, are you being serious? And I was like, why the fuck would I be joking about this? Like, yeah, like I can't see. And she's like, do you even have a prescription? I'm like, yes, I have a prescription. I didn't make it up. So she's like, I need to see your prescription. So I sit there for like 10 minutes, like going through my email, trying to find this prescription. I get the prescription, I give it to her and she's like, oh no, this is not going to work. This is not going to work. I'm like, what? It's literally like an official prescription. She's like, first of all, what is this optometrist? I don't know what this is. She's like, you're not American, are you? I'm like, no, the fuck no. And she's like, okay, your prescription is also, what's the word? Like, echado a perder? Like it's
expired.
It's expired. And she goes, she's like, yeah, you can't have this. I'm like, okay, well, it's only 2 years old. It has to be renewed every year. I'm like, okay, give me an eye test. $380 for an eye test. USD. Are you kidding me? She goes, in the state of California, contact lenses are controlled substances. I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, I can't eat them. Like, I can't abuse this substance at all. I can't. There's nothing, like, I can't get high off of.
You can see better or shit. You're just like.
I can't get high off of this, like, nothing. She's like, well, you either do the eye test here and then we can ship it to you in a week. I'm like, I'm trying to go to the movie theater tonight. So I go back to the car and I'm like, girl, these are controlled substances. She's like, what the, and she's Canadian, but she lives here. And she's like, what the hell? I didn't know that. And she doesn't wear glasses, right? So she wouldn't know. I'm like, okay, let's go to like a mom and pop optometrist. Like, let's go to like East LA or something, like somewhere where it's like not
the corners and shit.
Not a lens crafters. Like, it's just like an old guy working there. She's like, okay, I'm like, I'm gonna try. So we go there, and I go and I'm like, I'm Canadian. I can't see shit. Like, I lost my glasses. I have my prescription. Like, please. And he felt so bad for me, and he's like, I'm sorry, I can't, like, it is a controlled substance. And I'm like, why? He's like, I don't know. We're the only country in the world that does this. I'm like, I know. I've had to buy contacts everywhere else. He's like, let me see your prescription again. I show it to him. He's like, give me a moment. He goes to the back. He brings me a box, and like, contacts are expensive. And he brought me a good box too. They're like UV protection. It's like extra. And he's like, just go. And I'm like, really? I'm like, let me give you a hug. He's like, oh God. And I grab the contacts and I go out of there. That was so nice, but also like, how horrible is this that you guys you can't just go in and buy contact lenses? Like, what would I do if I was like broke and blind? How would you have to get an eye test every year for $380? Mm-hmm. That's crazy. That's almost 500 Canadian. That's crazy.
Welcome to the USA, where healthcare is privatized and ridiculously overpriced. Well,
you can't in Canada, like, even though we have public health care, you have to like pay for your contacts and stuff.
But it's not that much.
I think an eye exam in Canada is $100 Canadian. That's probably like 70 USD. That was crazy.
Sorry. I told that first lady, you know who I am?
Yeah, you know what? You just incriminated yourself because you just made a deal, an illegal deal.
I literally said, I told my friend when I got back in the car, I'm like, I could buy fentanyl easier than I just bought these contacts. I could fucking make fentanyl quicker than it took to get these contacts. It was horrible.
Next time, go to like a CVS or Walgreens and they have some there that have like...
Yeah, but I think those are only for clothes, like my dad told me the same thing. He's like, why don't you just go to the CVS and get those? And first of all, they're like granny ass glasses, right? But I didn't care. Like, I just need to see, but they don't have distance. Those are like reading glasses.
But the movie was good, right?
Oh my God, so good. I think it's the best movie. I go to the theater a lot. Like, I like watching movies. This was the best movie by far. And it won the Palme d'Or.
Really?
Yeah, it was so good. Have you guys seen it?
No,
Anora?
We're movie buffs too. We love movies. So.
You guys, it won the Palme d'Or. You need to watch this. It's amazing.
Okay.
It's the same guy who did the Florida Project. Is that what that movie is called? The Florida Project? Oh, Anora.
Is it like in the independent circuit?
I think it was A24. It might be independent. I don't know.
Yeah, because I haven't
heard it either.
Yeah. We like movies. We're film buffs. Yeah. Okay. Cap.
Mainstream.
Yeah. What's your favorite movie? Fast and the Furious.
Oh hell no.
Fast and Furious 5.
Tokyo Drift. Or,
Fast 5. That's like the Brazil one, right?
Yeah,
that one's actually pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Oh, don't even.
I kind of like that one.
That was safe in.
Yeah, and they get the handprint from her bikini bottom.
You know, this is the issue. This is why the war on drugs is never going to fucking end. Because they keep watching Fast and Furious movies and they just keep doing the same shit. They don't even
do drugs in Fast and the Furious.
No, but they fucking smuggle. They're police officers. They're vigilantes. They travel to space.
They're Avengers, bro.
They're fuking superheroes.
They're Avengers.
That's where she got running away from the cops too and shit. Like,
I watched too much Fast and the Furious. That was it.
It's rotting our brains. Yeah, ready to move on?
All right, here's the final segment of the podcast. This is where you get to say words of wisdom. Anything that you use on a daily basis that, you know, that our viewers or your viewers could use in their life. So this is all you here.
Okay, well, maybe, I don't know if this is like I'm giving people words of wisdom, but at least the way I live is like I never believe that there's any potential to fail. Like, even if I do fail, I will just be like, well, eventually it will turn into a success. Like, I always set my sights on something I want to accomplish. And I've always been like that. And I will let myself fail, whatever, it happens, like everyone does, but that will never be a reason for me to quit or give up. Like I literally have never quit at anything before. And I think that's led to a lot of like my ability to believe that I'm really capable of doing anything. And even if people are like talking shit or will tell me like, you know, you should give it a rest or you failed or whatever, I literally do not care. I don't take anyone's opinions. Like nothing affects me. It's like a horse with blinders. I set my goal and my path and I just go and I go full force. Like it's no like, you know, half in, half out, dip your toe in the water, just jump right in and do it. And I think too, especially for a lot of young women, we believe like, oh, I don't know, or what are people going to think? Fuck it. Someone will always think something about you. Who cares if it's positive or negative? Just go do it because that's what's going to make you happy. Is that so corny?
No. Because I agree with you. I feel like a lot of our biggest successes come after our failures.
100%.
And I've said, it's funny because on the last podcast we recorded, I said this, that usually when like I'm stressed or I'm like struggling, that's when I know something good is coming because it's going to lead me to, it's going to push me to get out of that. So anytime there's like a struggle, it's a little exciting because it's like, okay, something good's coming if I keep fucking pushing.
It's like how, you know, they say like every gambler quits before he hits big. I'm kidding. I'm joking.
Probably came from a gambler that quit.
I'm a recovering gambler.
Really?
No, I'm just kidding.
I would be like, get back to it. You were close.
At one point.
We support you.
That happened.
What was your game?
Blackjack.
Same.
I was addicted to blackjack big time.
Because blackjack is fun.
Yeah, when you're here, but when you're here, fucking.
But that's the adversity. You know, you have to overcome it. I'm kidding.
I used to always tell myself, oh, but I won big yesterday.
Yeah.
But I won big yesterday.
That's why it was hard for me to walk away from being a professional poker player for a while.
You suck at poker, fool.
Yeah, because I play with you and you guys suck. So it's like
this was sucks at poker.
Now I don't even play anymore. But back when I was in college, that was my job. I would go to school, get out, and I would go to the casino, and I would like literally just there all day. And then I would make a living. I would make good money, really good money.
When I had my first like journalism job, like it didn't pay that good. So I would literally like when I would get paid, I would just pay the rent, and then whatever was left over, I would just go and play blackjack. And I actually had some really good luck. Like I would basically double, sometimes triple my money. Damn. That was like the side hustle.
Yeah.
But I also knew how to count the cards, and it was like a shitty casino, so it wasn't.
Was this in Canada?
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys use single decks over there only?
No.
Okay. So I was gonna say let's go to Canada and play blackjack. That would count. Because
it also depends which casino you're at. That's why I'm like the one I went to, because I used to go to like 2 different ones. I lived in like a small city.
Yeah, because here they use like 3 or 4 decks, so it's kind of hard to count the cards.
Yeah.
It's kind of impossible. But
not really. You just gotta remember the odds and how you have to come out.
Well, I mean, there's
especially if you're at a full table, it's pretty good.
Yeah. You just gotta remember how many came out.
And then doesn't it piss you off? Okay, no manches. To the people that sit at the fucking blackjack table and don't know how to fucking play and they fix it up for everybody else.
So
I don't mind that.
No?
I don't give a fuck.
I get mad if I don't win.
Bro,
God.
Bro,
if I win, I'm like, oh, okay,
you have
fucking
16, word. Dog. Why the fuck are you hitting? Like,
I feel like those people are put
you can
there on
hit
purpose.
on 16.
Yeah, it depends what the dealer's showing.
Okay.
The dealer's showing 4.
If the dealer's showing 4 or 5 and you're on fucking 6, why the fuck are you hitting? Like, no.
Yeah.
Like, no. But yeah, anyways. Yeah.
No, my no manches when people like cough on the chips or like they spill their drink, or if you're just being like messy, get the fuck out. Like go to the slots or something. Like no, aquí no lo es.
I'm gonna go with the no manches. I'm gonna continue. Don't touch me. If I'm in the casino, don't touch me.
You don't know what the fuck I am. Don't touch me.
No, I don't like to, bro. I don't like to. I feel like my luck is being fucking taken away. Like if I walk through the casino and like I said, the tables are at the other side of the casino, I literally make it a point. I'm like fucking Matrixing everybody. Don't touch me. Like walk us, I feel like if you fucking touch me, you're rubbing off your bad luck on me.
Spoken like a true gambling addict.
Yeah, don't touch me.
I'm kidding.
Don't touch me.
You know what I had at the poker tables? When fools are dramatic. When people
like putting their head in their hands.
Yeah, they're dramatic, or like they're thinking about something. They get out of the chair, they get up, and they're walking around like, should I call or should I not? It's like, fool, like, you calling or not calling, fool? We don't need, nobody's recording this.
The whole scene.
That's part of the game. That's part of the bluff.
No, man.
Or when people are like,
I'm already all in, dog. I don't need to bluff anything. I'm all in. Either you're calling or you're not, fool. Like,
The worst is when people try to like banter with the dealer and the dealer's not having it and they're just like accosting them. Oh shit, that's you.
Mike likes to talk to
No,
dealers.
that's not me. No, I talk to the dealer.
He likes to talk to the dealers.
I tip the dealers pretty good.
Yeah, I'll tip too, but you know when people are like, "So how's the night going?" Oh yeah, come on, give me a lucky one now. It's like, shut the fuck up.
Okay, I can't do that.
You
I don't say it in a bad way. I'm like, hey, we gonna win big, right, dealer?
Oh, I hate that.
I got you.
Oh, I would if I was at your table, I'd be like, bro, you need to shut the hell up.
Yeah. The dealer,
or let's get the jackpot.
service.
Let's get the jackpot, dealer. Let's get the jackpot.
Or I'd start like touching you. I'd be, oh yeah.
You know, fuck I am. Anyways.
I want to say thank you.
Yeah.
I know it's
Thank
a
you,
Sunday.
guys.
It's a long weekend, but thank you. I know you're very busy, and we appreciate you coming in on a Sunday and talking with us. And
Thank you
chilling with
guys
us.
for having me. I
Yeah.
really appreciate it.
We appreciate you sharing. Keep doing what you're doing. You know, it does affect a lot of people and it does get the eyes out there and it brings awareness. So we love that about it. So keep doing your thing. You have some supporters here.
Thank you guys.
And we hope to talk in the future, especially once you get done with a couple of projects that you're working on.
For sure. I would love that.
Alrighty. All right. Anything else? We're good?
Where can people find you? Where can people reach?
Okay, so I have Instagram and Twitter, Katarina Szulc. We could probably put it on the screen, right? KATARINASZULC. They follow me, so you can just go through their following. And I have a TikTok, Katarina Knows, like I know. And then my Substack too. I would love if people subscribe to the Substack because
What is that? Explain a little bit.
it's basically like my blog. Like I post stories on there. So I post a lot of reels, but then on Substack, I'll write like articles and it'll really like elaborate and allow more context for whatever story I'm reporting on. And it's not like a typical news story. Like I really try to go into it and make it personal. So yeah, I would really like to build the Substack.
Okay. Yeah, I'm
It's
looking into that too.
$5 a month, but I'll put it down. When this podcast comes out, we'll have a deal. I'll put it down, give you all 50% off.
Cool.
Nice. We're going to get doing a 2-for-1, Doug. Yeah, but thanks again. Make sure you guys tune in. Make sure you guys subscribe. And make sure you guys subscribe to us too. We never say that for some reason.
Yeah.
No one wants to. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
No, but hey, happy holidays. It's holiday season, so happy holidays.
True.
All right.
Happy holidays. Peace out.
Peace out.